All right, everybody, 1 second. We're just getting organized real quick. I got a major echo. Which one of these is the echo? There he goes. All right, yeah. So give it a second. We're getting everybody in here, and then we'll be good to go.
Why did Wick just throw his chat under the bus? That's what my chat was saying. I'm just saying that's what the look. Sorry, I'll
Deserve to be thrown under the bus. Okay, if he's gonna come out with that kind of stuff in chat, okay, he gets what he gets. Okay.
Rhino says, I know one of them doesn't have glasses. Good, true.
Very context, though. I could be very blunt. So not a good point.
Oh, I love the little tea set.
That is super cute. Very Alice in Wonderland.
I love
Do you know where I got it? Okay. So this is a thing that our family used to do for a very long time. Was Downton Abbey was still coming out with its weekly episodes.
Oh my God.
Our family, me and my sisters and my mom, we would have a little tea cart, we would have a little teapot, we would have some cookies, you know, like the Milanos, and we would sit and we would watch Downton Abbey and we would dip it in the tea, and it was cute.
That's adorable.
And I loved it. It was so
I like
adorable.
that.
And so, as a Christmas present, my mom gave me the Downton Abbey tea set, which is this teapot. Isn't it awesome?
That's really cool.
I know, and hence the tea is where the tea comes from.
I like that story. Very wholesome. I like it.
Indeed.
I'm just waiting for Modi to start this off. There he is.
Okay.
Yeah, who
Hello.
we waiting
Yeah.
on?
Uh,
Who we still got?
so-
Who we still got to wait on, right?
Lethe should be here any second. Doomsday is going to be about an hour late or so. She's
Okay.
I don't know. She's doing some kind of modeling gig or something. Or I don't remember exactly what she said. She told me, but as a man, we don't listen to women. So like,
Fair.
that's a joke. You don't stab me already.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
That's exactly. Exactly. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing good? Seeing the praises? Come on, Modi. This isn't your first time. There you go, my son. Look at that.
Shut up, ho.
I'm really excited to
Hi.
see Modi in a serious panel here. I'm very, very excited for it.
I just fucking woke up, you piece of shit. Follow up. I'm dying in this bitch.
Yeah? You ready for your new house? You excited?
I was meant to be in it today, and then the internet got fucked up. So I woke up early for nothing, and I've got to be awake in T-minus 6 hours.
Yeah. T-minus.
Counting.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's like you say that like you actually sleep generally. You like never sleep.
I know I never sleep, but I'm trying to sleep.
All right, I'm gonna give.
But I'm here.
I'm gonna message Lethe right here real quick and see.
He
what
might
says.
not sleep, but he can dream. Okay.
Yeah. He's
Thank
like
you.
he's like
That's
the bad guy.
wonderful. That was a wonderful, rousing speech.
I'm supposed to tell Modi that Biddy says hi.
Is that IIB?
Yes.
Damn. What's up, mama?
I mean, she's listening to you right now, so you could tell her.
Oh, she's listening.
Yeah.
Tell her that I'm so sorry that I ditched our wedding. I had an urgent appointment in Vegas.
Fair enough.
Don't trust him. Don't trust him.
First of all, I'm very trustworthy. Can you not tell by my very feminine outfit? You should
don't know
lower
what
your
you're
guards
looking-
around me.
I don't know what you look
See,
like, sir.
You can't see me?
From
the
this
outfit-
picture, it looks like Miley Cyrus. That's all I can see.
Damn, and she's not a wrecking ball anymore. She's a pretty nice, sane girl these days. Yeah, I'm kind of
Saner
a
than
Miley
normal.
Cyrus stan.
Are you a Swiftie though? That's the real question.
Do I look like a pussy?
I don't even think
Don't
Taylor
answer that.
Swift is a Swiftie, to be honest.
Taylor Swift hates
I
herself.
don't think she can stand herself. Yeah.
Have you seen her? Have you seen her dance moves, bro? Jesus
Well, I
Christ, it's like
mean-
a stick bug.
But I know her outfits are to die for. I love her outfits. I am jealous of her entire wardrobe. I wish I could steal it. I wish I could wear it, and I definitely wish I could afford it. I can do none of those two things.
She looks like she shops at Target.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't think her wardrobe looks that expensive.
I
Yeah.
would take
She like wears jean shorts.
Lindsay Sterling's outfits that she makes herself.
That's the
I'll
one
take
that does
Lindsay
the.
Lohan.
Isn't it the one that does
Yeah,
the
the violinist.
Yeah.
Yeah. She makes
Good
some
point.
amazing outfits.
My ex-wife
I
was a
wish that I
massive
was
fan of
brave
shit.
enough to rock that shit.
Okay, Gibbo. Are we getting this on the road?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll just let's see what Lethe said right now. He's in the room. All right, let me just move him in.
You got Leafy is here, like the actual Leafy.
I don't know.
No, he has Leafy,
Oh,
which
I
I always
see.
thought was pronounced leaf.
Yeah,
I mean, a rose by any name.
mhm.
Would smell as dank.
All right. Yeah, we'll start with this. I think that we got everybody but Doomsday, and she'll be here in a bit. Oh, okay. Let me just pull up my notes. Let's go start off everybody off here. Why don't everybody go in a big little circle here? I guess we'll start with Fairy Queen. Tell us who you are, what you do, where you're from, all the good stuff, and then we'll just go from there.
Hi, my name is Fairy Queen. I am a feminist politics YouTuber, and I am here to talk about dating. You can find me at Fairy Queen's Cottage on YouTube.
All right. Ginger, you want to go next?
My name is Ginger Remuth, and I'm a streamer, and I go by Ginger Remuth.
All right, all right, all right. Leafy?
Your boy Lethy Water Kai here, chilling with some wonderful people, getting ready for this amazing conversation. You can find me at Lethy Water Kai on all platforms. Glad to be here.
All right. Thank you, thank you. Mooncake?
I'm Mooncake. I run a cult. I stream games online. We listen to music, chit chat, and yeah, if you want to hang out with me, Mooncake XO on Twitch.
All right, thank you, thank you. Modi?
Hi, I'm Motor1, former women conqueror, current ally and feminist, big fan of women, bazoingas, and pussy. I've probably been on more dates and had more relationships at the age of 22 than everyone here combined. No, I'm not a whore. I just love human interaction.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Wick?
My name's Wick. I do streams and I talk about stuff. And here I am because you invited me. So hi.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you all here. I'm really excited to see you actually get to share an opinion instead of moderate for once. We got a couple moderators in here that actually get to talk for once. So that's good. That's good. In fact, so I guess I'll give us an opening, then we'll have opening statements, and then we'll just open it up from there. So, in light of many panels discussing modern issues between men and women that are having with each other, I've decided to host a panel in regards to what the core problems facing men and women today are. This is especially evident in regards to modern dating and marriage. Recently, in streaming, there's been some wild happenings. Things like the Destiny Molina divorce, the Hunter Avalon shooting kind of thing, whatever that was. The Lena the Plug and Adam 22's embracing of the cuckolding, and open marriages just seem to be on the rise. I personally am divorced, but I've been a very active dating life, and yet every day I come on here, I feel like, and I see a panel about dating and men's issues and women's issues, and I find it appalling because of the terrible advice that I've been seeing. Things like, oh, join a D&D group if you want to find women. Things like that, just awful advice. So I'm here today hosting this panel with these wonderful people to discuss these issues, and I want to see what everybody's opinions are and what people think the core issues between men and women and the lack of sex that the younger generations are having compared to our millennial generation. I think we're all millennials here, maybe not everybody. And then as compared to whatever. And if that's a problem, what are the other problems? How do we fix this? What should we do about all these things? So let's get some opening statements. Fairy Queen, you can start us off. We'll just go in the same order as before.
I'll start with a concern that I have about the way that we usually have these conversations. Normally, the way that we have these conversations is we typically talk a lot about men's loneliness. We talk about men's inability to date and men's difficulties in finding women, but we don't usually talk about women's difficulties in finding dating partners and in trying to find somebody to fall in love with and fall into date. A recent documentary that came out on Netflix, it was called Twin Flames documentary. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's essentially it was about a Facebook group. It was a cult. And it would lure women in to the cult to give them dating advice. And it gave terrible advice. It advised women to stay with highly abusive husbands, with highly abusive men. It advised women to stalk and to harass men over and over again because they were their twin flame. It even convinced some women who were not experiencing gender dysphoria that they should transition to become men so that then they could date other people within the same cult. And so the fact that, and I bring this up as an example to demonstrate that I think women are also vulnerable to the difficulties in finding dating. I think that the vulnerabilities are different than the ones that men experience, but are nonetheless neglected in these conversations. So as somebody who is a young woman in her 20s, am curious to hear what tonight's panel has to do with advice specifically for women in dating, and not just dating and finding somebody temporarily to date, but to find somebody who you can be your husband, who you can marry, and who you can have a long, successful relationship with. And that's my opening statement.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Ginger?
Jesus Christ. That was a good opening statement. I'm just mine's not nearly that thought out. So okay,
Don't
so
worry.
basically my issue with most panels on dating is that it's usually more so focused about what people are doing wrong versus what people can do right. There's it's hard to give it a definitive reason or a definitive aspect on what can attract anybody. Like something works for other people while it doesn't work for most people. That's just kind of how life is. Everybody's completely different. But I feel like what's going on is that men and women are at complete odds with each other right now. Not, I wouldn't say more than ever. I would just say that it's harder because we're discussing where men and women should be in the placement of society, yet none of us know where they should be, and we're all at odds on where it is. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much. Leafy?
All right. So I feel like we are in a transitional period right now where the roles for genders and other things are kind of up in the air and people don't really know what to do with themselves and it's pissing people off and no one knows what to do about it. I feel like we need to get to a point of true equality where nobody feels like they're being put in the place of one gender or another gender for doing specific things that are human things to do, like cooking, cleaning, taking care of children, working construction if need be, being in the military. Whatever the case may be, we are all capable of doing these things. They are not gendered. But for some reason, we want to make sure that these gender roles stay the same. And we are fighting so hard to maintain something that is no longer the way it was. And the longer people want to fight this, the harder it's going to be on down the line.
All right. Thank you so much. Mooncake?
Okay, mine will probably be like pretty short opening. Yeah, like I think it's been already stated previously, but like the dating market in general, I think we're in a weird time. A lot of people are online, and it makes it hard to meet people like in real life. I think people are also lacking those skills of how to communicate in real life. And I think that's something that we could look into on both sides, right? We don't really know how to approach each other, what we like, things along those lines. I also think for relationships, but we'll get into this later. Marriage, especially, I think. Uh, hmm, let's just say I don't think it's for everyone, but we'll get into this later. So I'll just end it there, and then we'll get into it.
All right. Thank you so much. Modi?
Just to get it clear, this is my opinion on the current dating like type of shit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've got like an absolute different answer to this. I actually don't have a problem with how things are right now. You know why? Because it makes there's a lot of men right now who are, becoming beta cooks, becoming, using their credit cards, and I feel like the amount of suitable men for women are going down, which makes it easy, slim pickings for men like me. So I've been having the time of my life with these girls. You know what I'm saying? I've been having many more, since like 2016, 2017, 2018. I was like, it's okay, normal life. But these past 2 years been fucking nuts. Women are looking for even a semi-stable man who doesn't have a full-time job is okay for them. Other than that, I will comment on one thing. If I was to play devil's advocate, I will say that I feel like I disagree heavily with Fairy Queen that women have a similar hard time, because I know 1,000 men would throw down their lives for a crumb of pussy and relationship. Well, I don't see many. I don't see many the opposite, to be honest with you. And you might be saying, but they're just trying to get some vagina. True, but once I have sex one time with a woman, I fall in love and I'm willing to die for them. So it's pretty simple. If you put out, then I'm putting in. I think the opposite doesn't work for women. It's really hard to get girls from a lot of guys compared to women. If a girl goes up to a guy in a club, it's easy pickings. If a guy goes to women, he's a creep, especially if he looks like GIBB. So that's my ending of my opening statement.
It's rough. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that insight. All right, Wick, how you doing, Bubba? Tell us your thoughts.
Man, I don't look. I didn't know what kind of panel or show we're going to be on. I have a better idea now. I'll say that. I'll say this on this subject. Look, we are in a constant state of fear. Men and women both are afraid of different things, but it has paralyzed us and kept us from getting what we used to get, getting what we deserve, right? Finding love. Men are scared, terrified to approach women, right? They're just stop doing it in large cases. When they approach women at the gym, they're creeps. They get put on blast on Instagram and things like that. When they approach women at the workplace, they're engaging in weird power dynamics. They get put on blast. They're a creep. If they approach them in a park, oh, why are you coming up to me? Did I invite you here, etc., etc. This is a constant refrain that men hear, and they have become paralyzed with fear. Women are afraid that the men that they find are going to be red pillars, that the men that they find are going to cheat on them, that the men that they find are going to be abusive, etc. And we have this state where everyone's fear has been turned up to 11 because of, and I'm going to say it, social media. Social media has destroyed people's ability to interact, and that's where we're at. So what we need to do is we need to conquer our fears and realize, much as like Dune says, fear is a mind killer. And if you like a girl, just go up to her. She isn't going to, well, most of the time, she isn't going to think you're a creep unless you act creepy. So there you go.
All right. Okay. Anybody want to start us off?
Can we all agree there's no such thing as a femcel?
Yes, I can.
I don't even know what that means. I don't even.
Yeah,
A woman that cannot have sex, not because she doesn't want to, just because she cannot.
I think that
Oh
exists.
yeah, well I mean, it depends. If there's some guys out there unfuckable, like Chris Chan, for example. So yeah, I think I mean, I think if you put one femcel in a room with 1,000 men, someone would fuck her.
That's why there's no such
essentially.
thing.
But but I also believe there's the opposite as well. There's no incels. I think incels are men who just can't get women, and then turn their sword towards the world.
And here's a question. I have a question about that term femcel. So when you say femcel, it sounds like you're only talking about sex, right? How easy it is for women.
Same thing for dudes. Dudes with incels are involuntarily celibate. It's only about sex, not about an emotional connection or anything else on that order. Now, if you're looking for an emotional connection, that's a lot harder down the line.
See, that's what I was going to say. I would agree that it's probably easier for women to have sex with somebody. It's probably not going to be something they're attracted to, but it's probably easy for the vast majority of women to find sex. Probably not nearly as easy to find somebody who they can actually have an established emotional relationship with.
But I think that's equal across the board. I think dudes also, like, they may be able to get sex, but they won't be getting an emotional connection. So I think it's equal on both sides.
Do we want to turn this into a contest, really? Like, do we want to, like, this is my frustration with any of these types of conversations, is it almost invariably becomes this contest. Who has it worse? It becomes like a oppression Olympics. Do women have it worse? Do men have it worse? Who has it harder? We can recognize that both genders have issues when it comes to interaction. But we don't have to make it into this kind of like competition to see who has it the worst. We could just say, hey, men have issues, women have issues, they have issues when they try to interact with each other, and here are some ways we can get over it. And I just don't, I have no interest in making it into a fight.
Yeah, I actually agree with that kind of statement. I don't think the oppression Olympics theory is really the way I want to go with this either. I agree that we all have issues. I mean, so to some extent, I just I guess I want to put out there, like, let me ask this, since we've kind of been on this subject right here. I was watching some stuff in prep for this, and one of the statements I heard today was women guard the gate for sex. Men guard the gate for relationships. Would y'all agree with that statement?
Agree with that.
Would y'all agree with that? Does anybody disagree with that?
I only somewhat agree. I think that's changed drastically since birth control and other things have become available. Women don't feel the need to guard quite as much as they did before because they don't have the chance of getting pregnant and having to take care of a kid by themselves at the same rate that they did before.
Okay.
It's more so. I'm sorry. Wait. Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's
Oh.
more so it's more so to deal with the fact that they decide, the woman is the one who decides if they're having sex in the relationship. It's all that's usually the case for what would be considered a healthy relationship, is the woman deciding whether or not they're going to have sex. But it's 99% usually that it's all on the man whether or not they're dating.
I disagree. I'm going to disagree with this statement. If women reject just as much for relationships as men do, right? I think that the reason we have this saying is that most men can't get into the first gate, so they're like this two-tiered system. Okay, in general, I'm talking in general here. We're going to leave out some of the religious groups and things like that. I don't think we need to talk about those today. But for most people in America and Western culture, if you want to have a relationship, sex is part of that relationship. So gatekeeping for sex is, by definition, gatekeeping for relationships. It just is.
Okay.
I have to disagree.
Why?
I mean, I can see why that's your train of thought, but I think that a man a man is more likely to jump into a relationship if he thinks that the woman will have sex with him more so in a relationship than outside of the relationship.
That goes with what I'm saying, right? Like, does that not make sense? Right? Maybe I misheard you.
You're right. No, you're right. Okay, sorry.
So
I
could
misinterpreted
you?
what you
So
said.
That's why the men are here, to make sure that we have the correct takes and we can.
That wick.
Mm.
I don't know if I agree with that.
oh wait, okay. Could you like TLDR real quick? So you're saying that the sex will keep a man in a relationship?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, bro. Let me tell you. It's not. I mean, as a man who has a lot of sex, I would tell you I've dated a lot of crazy women, and I've also dated crazy women who don't put out. I'm telling you, it ain't about the sex that keeps you. It's the mental game. Sometimes these women dig their claws into your brain, and I'm like, even when I'm not,
date women
even
with
when I,
mental illness. So
well, there's your problem, brother. They are the best type of women. You know what I'm saying? You need, hey, those women will hunt you down for the rest of your life and make you feel loved. A woman who can give you a pussy every day. Listen, bro, I can go to a club and have a couple one night stands and feel fulfilled. Doesn't mean I need a relationship with the same woman. It's actually more exciting for men to keep trying different women because, hey, let's see what's out there. I'd actually say that if you keep having the sex with the same person over and over again, a lot of the relationships get stale, and that's half of the reason a lot of relationships end because it gets boring.
Can I ask
I
a
can't say
question?
that. Go ahead.
Sorry. So does anyone here feel like most men would prefer a poly relationship then? Like if
Facts.
you're saying men like
Definitely
I
not.
think most men would prefer a poly relationship if the women weren't seeing other men.
There it is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's closer.
Hey, if I was in a
That's not
poly
a
relationship
poly
with two
relationship.
women,
yeah.
that's a threesome over and over again.
What would be the difference if like you had two girlfriends and she had two boyfriends? Like I just don't see the difference, honestly.
I just don't like my woman getting dicked down, and that's a male thing.
Well, let me ask something real quick. So I think that's a perfect segue into kind of the topic I wanted to go into. So like I said, we were talking about when I opened this up. I talked about Destiny and I guess this Hunter person. I don't really know about this. I just know it was some drama in the news. And then we had we got Lena the Plug and Adam 22, and they're very big on this advocating this open marriage kind of thing. Now, personally, I know a lot of people that have had open marriages and open relationships, and like anytime I meet these people, I just go ahead and assume that it's a time clock on this thing, and it's going to fail. So in my head, when I look at these things personally, I kind of wondering, is this actually a goal that we should be going for? Is this something that's a good thing? Because I personally think it's a part of the reason why relationships are failing overall. Do y'all disagree with that? Do y'all agree with that? What do y'all think?
I definitely disagree.
With
Yeah.
that, what do you disagree with that?
So 50% of all marriages fail. So like there's no way to pinpoint exactly what's going to make it fail. Some people do better.
Well, how many
or will
open
have a
relationships
longer.
fail as opposed? I'm sure we have data.
I
on
would
this,
say it's
right?
about the same.
How
No, we
many
really don't have a lot
how
of
many
data on
poly
I don't
how
think
many
it
poly
is, though.
marriages
Hold on,
how
let
many
me
poly
get some
marriages
actual data
fail?
before I go off on this.
I
But
think-
I think
And
open
How many?
relationships
Wait,
make more sense.
people just used to
is
call
there
it swingers.
an open
back in the
marriage?
day.
Like, is
Swingers,
there a marriage with 3 people?
So yeah, 92% of open relationships end in divorce, as opposed to
92.
50%.
Of
Really?
marriages in
Close.
general.
So
So
that's a
That doesn't make no sense to
divorce
me, bro.
assumes marriages. Okay?
let me ask you
I mean,
another question with that. Like, just because you bring up that stat, and I don't think we're going to have a stat for this, but this is my question. So 92% fail for that. Here's my question, and this is the thing I wonder, and I don't probably think we're going to be able to find evidence for this, is how many of those open relationships even make it to the marriage mark? That's something I'm kind of curious about.
I don't
But
know. I
yeah.
can't say.
I want a
But
question.
again,
Can you
and
marry
I
two women
understand
at the
this
same
is
time?
I think
And
in
what's
some
the
places
statistics of them staying together?
you can.
Yeah, it says right here there's no clear evidence to suggest open relationships fail more than monogamous ones.
Hmm.
well,
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
If I
just
had to
looking.
date two women at the same time,
Here, I
I
can
would
link to
never
this.
divorce either of them.
Mm.
Because if I had an argument with one, I can just go to the other. Bam. Problem
So yeah,
solved.
this is talking about open marriages specifically. So I can't speak for
Yeah,
relationships.
until they gang up on
Yeah.
you and they realize that they like each other better than they like
But
you.
listen, there's no way that's possible because I'm such a charmer. And also, I hope they gang up on me, demon emoji. You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree
2 on
with
1.
that.
I'm loving it.
Fair
I
enough.
agree with that.
I don't know. I'm at the age where I don't have that kind of energy. Okay. But for me, right? Like I think when it comes to the connection people have a hard time sharing the spotlight. I don't know why we think that they're going to have an easier time sharing their spouse. I just don't understand that, right? But that could be a me thing. I'm sure for some people, the traditional stuff doesn't work. I get
I
that.
could never pretend I could do it.
Do we not feel like as a society we're moving towards that being more of a norm? I feel like
I
Mm.
definitely think it's becoming more a norm. I think so.
I
Yeah.
do. I think so.
I mean, I feel like everything in to do with relationships is becoming normal. I mean, like for example, considering 10 years ago to now, I think being gay is a lot more normal. I think we're just we're turning into a way more sex positive, just in general view on sexual and relationships. It's just slowly turning.
So let me push back
Well,
on that. Just
actually,
go ahead.
I was actually going to push back on that too. I don't know that I agree with that. And I'm going to tell you why I don't, specifically the part about sex positivity. I know that like in the world of Twitch poll, right? It feels like we have conversations about sex. It feels like we have stuff being constantly pushed in our face, right? I mean, you are probably sick and bored to death of discussions of OnlyFans, right? We all have seen the Fresh and Fit podcast. I understand like why there's a perception that sex is happening all the time, but there are some statistics and there are some other things that don't show that, right? For one thing, we know that like there was a recent study in The Guardian that showed that that Gen Z actually wants less depictions of sex in the movies and in the media and the Hollywood films that we know. We know that on average, people are having less sex today than they would have about 10 or 20 years ago in the same age category. We also know, and I don't know if any of you have noticed like what's been on your Twitter timeline, but I am seeing like hundreds of comments over and over and over again, slamming women for being degenerates, right? Complaining about women being sexually provocative, saying that this has gone too far. The trad wife aesthetic is extremely popular
Wait,
on
let's put some
There is-
context on this. Hold on. Let's put some context on why are they saying this? And what context are they saying that this woman, these specific
we're
women
gonna
are
talk
being
about that
degenerate? Is
Wednesday,
it
now,
because
come
they're
on.
showing
Okay, wait. I have a response
in
for
a
this.
place where there's kids, right?
Okay, wait. I have a
And let me ask you directly,
Wednesday, I have a whole rant,
do you think
and
it's
then
okay to show kids your tits?
Huh? How
What?
do we get to that, bro?
Wait.
What?
Do you think it's okay to show children, 13-year-old guys?
No,
No,
I don't think
I mean, wait a minute, bro. Like, if I was 13 years old,
Complaining,
question.
I want to
Let's
contextualize this.
let's
I
not
wanna
steer into
contextualize-
that.
I want to
Okay.
contextualize this because-
Do you think it is acceptable for a platform that talks about bestiality, has intoxicated adults talking about pornography, has people talking about like has a Twitter timeline where you can click on a link and you can see pictures of severed heads with one quick link? Do you think a 13-year-old should be allowed to have access to that? Yes or
Talking
no?
about
I
it
think it's better than
fundamentally
Minecraft.
different
I answered your
than
question. Yes
seeing
or
it.
no? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes or no?
but there is a fundamental difference between someone seeing tits, showing your tits, and
severed
talking
head?
about tits.
Okay,
There's
a
a
severed head?
fundamental difference between
I'm
these things.
sorry.
I was
I'm sorry.
getting some severed head.
Okay. First of all, and I don't even want to talk about this because this is not what the panel today is about, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Okay, but the reality is, all of these platforms should be 18 and up, and they should all be guarded. No child should be on
No
social
chance, bro. I loved it when I was 15. I was seeing pure boobies. Hubba hubba hubba.
But secondly, like if we're going to, so I wanted to redirect the conversation to talk again about dating expectations. So where did we go off on this rabbit hole? I'm not going to go into this
You're the
because I
one
have
that
Wait,
brought
wait,
up
wait, 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 wait.
people
Can I-
saying
can
that
we-
women
Yeah, let's
wait, wait,
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me
Can
take
I have
over
a
real quick.
response?
Yeah, let's go to Modi, and then we'll
Yeah,
go.
I want to
who's
respond
next?
to the thing before we start talking about kids and boobies. I don't care about none of that shit. I'm here to talk about relationships. Here's my thing about what you just said. The reason that there is less sex than ever and this whole Gen Z stigma and all this sort of shit is because the more time that goes on, the more women who do sex work, the more likely men are to stay online. People talk about sex more than have it these days, and I know club culture is slowly maybe dying out because the internet is just such a clout gobbling place. But also you got to think about it like this: if more men weren't camera shy, we would have way more sex. Because these days, to have sex, you have to be on camera for the women's OnlyFans. That's all I'm saying.
So,
change anything.
So we're living in a different
men
time
here,
right
would you
now.
guys have sex if there's a woman? If let's say there's a woman, you're like, okay, I really like it, but she's like, yeah, but I'm on OnlyFans, try to fuck. You know what I'm saying? Would you fuck on camera? Be honest.
there's a piece of
Yeah, I've done it
that.
before.
Oh yeah, I mean, same.
It's
But
not really an
would you do
issue.
it for the? I mean, if you're not doing, I mean, you guys
Look,
you guys are the
I'll do a
exception.
lot of things on camera for enough money. Do I get a cut?
No, you
Saying
get zero cut. You just have to feed. You have
$0?
to,
No,
yeah.
they can't use
It's
my
their,
face
it's their
for
business. You out here, you out here, you know, entering their parts. It's
No,
a
if I'm
transaction.
gonna be part of the business, I want to be part of the business. So unless I'm getting money, right? Unless they're giving me money
Yeah.
and paying for my time and energy,
Yeah.
then
But-
yeah.
But the main point being, we spend way more time online these days. But it's like club culture's dying, going out and shit like that. I feel like even people I know who are 15, turning 18, they decide instead of going out to the pubs and having a couple pints with their boys, they have a credit card now and they have a human interaction. The problem with the rise of OnlyFans, because I used to go on Pornhub, I still go on Pornhub. I love having a quick gander at some titties. But for me, that's where it ends. People crave human interaction, and what a lot of these men, and a different issue completely, what a lot of these men don't understand is there are people like me on these OnlyFans accounts for these women responding to them in DMs, and they're getting their validation from like it's really fucked up actually if you think about it. Because I used to do this thing for a woman where I used to reply to all of her personal OnlyFans DMs. Hundreds of men who thought they had a connection with me, who thought they were like talking to me. Hundreds of men giving their credit card information. That is where the problem lies. There are hundreds of young men with no confidence, no going out. Getting denied is part of your confidence.
Well, if women are having trouble
So-
then
So let
getting with women, they could come to you because you've dealt with a lot of men. You got their dicks hard, right? So why don't you just help?
That's pretty
these
easy,
women
bro. I'll just
learn
say,
how-
suck your dick, buddy. Yeah.
There's a piece of what you're saying that I'm going to take a piece of what you're saying that I think is true, and that's that like most people who are millennials or who are on the tail end of like Gen Z, right, have grown up like being exposed to internet pornography at an early age, right? It's not uncommon for a lot of kids, like as they're growing up, a lot, especially who are now adults, right, who are in our generation, have grown up being exposed to internet pornography frequently throughout their years, right? And I think that right now what we're experiencing is an exhaustion of that, an exhaustion of over-sexualized media, an exhaustion of like of the perception of that. It's part of the reason why you're seeing tons of backlash against people. It's why you're seeing a resurgence of people criticizing OnlyFans. People are far more critical of pornography than they would have ever dared to be 10 or 15 years ago. And I think it is in part because
So-
people are
go
But
ahead.
there, I don't think that's inherently true, right? People have always been extremely critical of pornography. I don't know if you guys remember those documentaries from the 90s, early 2000s, like when they had
Yeah,
the
we're more
AIDS-
permissive than we ever have been.
the AIDS outbreak, right? And then the whole overthrow, the government got involved, everything like that into the porn industry, right? People wanted a bunch of stuff shut down. Anyways, I won't get into it. But what I also think is just that men can make a choice, right? At the end of the day, we really do need to consider personal responsibility. Just because a woman makes an OnlyFans doesn't mean you have to buy it. I think a lot of guys nowadays, especially young men, are choosing not to go outside. They're choosing not to interact with people on a face-to-face level. They're choosing to leave
So
everything on the
Well,
internet.
let me
So-
ask
okay,
directly.
go ahead, Wick.
If
I
may.
want to say
Let me
something about
ask
this.
Okay, sure. But let me just ask directly then, if we're going to talk about porn, do we think porn is one of the problems when it comes to men and women's interaction?
No.
You don't think it is at all?
Nope.
I think it actually is. I think that porn and its access, we are more permissive. Fair, I don't know what you're talking about. I think we are more permissive about porn than we have ever been in at least
I
my
think amateur
lifetime.
porn is fine. I think produced porn is fake, and you can create like fake,
I'm
like
totally with
fake
him.
delusions. Amateur porn, though, it taught me a lot about how to please a woman. To be honest, raw dogging. Know what I'm saying?
I don't think
Ruh-roh.
it did, honestly.
I mean, hey,
It really
I
should.
mean,
No, it
promise
should
you,
not.
porn
Hold on,
should
hold on.
not
Let me
teach you
just
how to please
you're
women.
talking about the MOGB here, bro. I've been getting pussy since I was 15.
let me just redirect this a little bit here.
No groomer.
Let me
Oh.
say, yeah, let me just,
I've been fucking.
let me just redirect this a little bit. So y'all asked, y'all think it's porn. I want to bring something up, right? We talked about men. It looks like when it comes to statistics, Gen Z men are having a real struggle with this. So I guess let's just talk about a men's issue a little bit, right? And I think we've kind of touched on this some so far. I personally, like Modi brought this up as a kind of a joke when he came in. Oh, Gibbs looks like a creep going out. See, I personally do pretty good when I go out because I'm not afraid to go talk to people and get rejected, right? Like I don't care. I get rejected, whatever.
character.
Yeah, builds character. On to the next one. She'll be it, whatever. It's like I don't mind getting rejected. I've rallied against a lot of these times, and I've actually been upset I haven't got to go on a couple of these panels that Wick has hosted and a couple of these other people have hosted because I watch these guys and they sit here and they give this bad advice, in my opinion. And this bad advice seems to be find these groups, do these different things. And my opinion is it starts, kind of with the teaching people how to lose, right? We've taken competition out of society as like people always want to feel special. They don't want to feel
Yep.
lost. And
They're weak.
Yeah, they're weak. And I feel like, like kind of Modi brought this up earlier as a joke almost, or I'm not, maybe not a joke, but he's not afraid to go out. I'm not afraid to go out and talk to people, but a lot of these men are afraid to go out. So I don't know if it's the pornography that's the issue with these people, or if it's the fact that we've developed a culture where everybody's special
We've
and they
got
don't
no
want to get told.
confidence.
Yeah, they don't want to get told they're
Porn
going
never tells you
That's
no.
why a lot of these
Yeah,
people
or never
pick
get
up
told
live.
no.
A lot of these people pick up live streaming because when they've got a camera in their hand, it feels like you can get any woman you want. Same way with being rich. These men focus on the wrong things and they need to focus on themselves.
Right, yeah.
And just to kind of back up what you're saying here, Gibbs, like as I said at the beginning, fear is a large part of it. You do well because you try. A lot of men have given up. A lot of women have given up too. A lot of women have decided, it's just not worth it. Porn and the access to pornography and related things has had an impact on how we are relating to each other. Of course it is, right? We are more likely today to just not try, and hey, we can get satisfied in other ways, right? We got our AI right there, we got our OnlyFans, we got our toys, etc. that we can use. We just don't need each other anymore.
But Wick, I have a question for you. So
Hey.
you said that like even for women, they're like they don't want to have relationships anymore.
Or they want them, they just don't want to try. Does that
Okay,
make
so
sense?
you're like kind of given up. Why do you think that is?
Because they have ease of access to things that would like give them empty calories for that need. Like they think it fulfills that need. I don't think it really does, but they feel satisfied enough with that. It's not worth the effort to try. Juice ain't worth the squeeze, right? So instead of dealing with men in the dating market and going on Tinder, gross, right? Like they'll just stay at home and do their own thing and be satisfied, right? They don't have to try.
Do you think porn has impacted women, or just porn has only impacted men?
Porn has mostly impacted men, but it hasn't left women unscathed because again, there's connections here. Men and women are connected because men have changed their behaviors and how they interact because of, not entirely, right? Not even mostly, but in part because of pornography. It has affected women as well.
I think paid pornography is what changed everything.
Like, are you saying like the OnlyFans specifically, or versus like going
Yeah,
on Pornhub?
yeah, but here's the thing, bro. Pornhub, yeah, I think the issues develop from watching porn are completely because porn has always been a thing since I grew up, bro. The thing is, when I was growing up, and I'm only 22 years old, there was none of this like, cook words or simp words. I have literally seen more in the past year and a half since the rise, 2 years since the rise of OnlyFans, of like men that I just didn't think existed. I've seen women who like pull up their phones in bed and laugh at these men who message them like these parasocial things. It is worse than it's ever been. There has always been the odd bad bunny in the bunch. Porn can ruin minds, but I feel like now more than ever with the paywall, the human connection that OnlyFans bring, human connection with quotation marks.
I just want to interrupt here. I'm so sorry, but you're young, so you don't know that before OnlyFans and before porn was free, you paid for porn. There was no way of getting it.
I'm talking about free porn era.
Yep.
They used to pay for porn, like I said, but it didn't have any human connection. You didn't get a one-on-one with them like you do on OnlyFans. That's what I was saying.
You're,
The
you're,
yellow pages.
or the back pages or
Craigslist?
Craigslist.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that shit, bro. Fucking, that was like, this is like way more leechy and goblin-y now.
Well,
No,
no,
but-
it's really stupid if you think you can pay to have a connection with someone. You already lost from Jump Street at that point.
Yeah, but OnlyFans is literally the dominating
So
industry right
let
now.
me
People are
ask. Let me
turning
ask
into you.
this. Let me ask.
Oh, sorry.
Back in the day, people used to look at back pages and be like, wasn't that popular to get into?
All right. So Fairy Queen, go ahead.
Oh,
Okay, so
sorry, Fairy Queen.
Yeah, Fairy
no, no,
Queen.
no, you
Okay.
go. Okay. Well, a couple of stats I think that we should point out, like about OnlyFans specifically, and I just learned this after watching a recent debate. Apparently, like 80% of the people users who pay for these OnlyFans pornographic subscriptions, they are married men, and they're typically married men who skew a little bit older, about like roughly like 35 to like 40, which would make sense, right? Because if you're going to be somebody that has a pornography,
You get
like
money.
it has a subscription of that kind, you're probably going to be have somebody who has a lot of disposable income, right? You're probably not going to be
How
somebody
about the
that
free
like
pages, by the way? How about the free OnlyFans pages?
Okay, well, let's talk about that, right? So when we're talking about like free pornography, this is a thing that I find to be frustrating. There's another article that was published by Wired a few years ago. There is a perception that it's really easy for women to succeed because all they have to do is post naked pictures and put them up on OnlyFans or put them up on Twitch, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people like have said that, and that's how they can be successful, right? They can get tons of money just doing this, right? But that reveals like a huge problem that exists within the porn industry. It's not as easy as you might think. And one of the reasons for that is exactly what you said, which is that a lot of pornography is free, right? The reason why you pay for a subscription, like it has to be for another reason other than just seeing pornographic things, right? Because you could otherwise go into Pornhub or X Hamster or any of these other things and watch like a 30-minute video for free, right? And that means that if you're going to hack it as a porn star in this industry, you are going to have to do something that means that you're going to have to outperform, create content that is something that people will pay for as opposed to paying for a celebrity on OnlyFans, which a lot of people do. It's a big reason, right? So you're competing with big names, and you have to compete with all of the other free pornography that is also available that people go and have access to.
Well, yeah, the other problem is that like you said, what people are having to like outdo each other in order to get that business their way because there's such an influx of OnlyFans models, I
So
guess.
let's go to Mooncake after you, and then Lethe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, Mooncake, go
No,
right
don't
ahead.
worry. No, it's
No,
not a
yeah,
problem
Finn,
at
go ahead.
all. No, I was just gonna say, what's always funny now is that like porn has always been a problem. I mentioned the 90s and stuff before, right? And you still have the issues of like very abusive porn coming up and people saying, was this damaging the minds of young men, right? Ever since it's women who can now just do it themselves, right? They don't have to go through a third party to promote their services or whatever it is. Now it's a problem. Now that the money is going directly to the actress or whatever, I feel like we're making it a bigger issue than it actually is. These men, if they're already paying for porn, they were probably always going to pay for porn. Don't forget there are cam girl websites where you can message women and pay for that interaction, right? So this has always been a thing. I think we're just seeing it more in the media.
Lethe? Lethe?
I don't know about that
Okay.
one.
So, Fairy Queen mentioned a number. Like most of these dudes that are spending money on OnlyFans are 35 up and married. So I got some statistics before I came in here that 43.6% of millennial women aged 25 to 34 have graduated college, as opposed to the 28 before in Gen X and the 22% in Gen Z. So you're looking at the homicide, maternal mortality rate, and suicide rates of women going up by about 1%. So I'm going to say that most of the men that are in the millennial category and below don't have the means to do what the generations before did. And women are now more career oriented and are not really looking for relationships at the same level that men were before. I don't think it's pornography that's really doing it. I just think the way that we interact has changed drastically.
Let me ask you something. Let me just ask you something real quick, Lethe, just so with that. So I know that a trope is that basically that men hit their prime in they're like, all right. So I'm gonna sound like Andrew Tate for a second, even though I hate the red pill. But I know a trope that the red pill pushes is that men, once they hit their 30, 35, this is the prime for men, and that women want to date older men because men are more established. Now, so basically, based on what you're saying, do you think that it has more to do with what you're saying, or do you think it's more because women are looking, instead of looking for the career oriented, they're looking for the established men at that age, and this is just a misnomer that's happening, and basically
no,
it's
I
the same
think
thing that's been happening forever?
I think women aren't going to settle for someone who's making less money than them ultimately. And men don't really want a woman most men don't want a woman that's making more money than them. So this is
What?
going to ruin the dynamic.
That's not true.
I don't know that one. I'm looking for sugar
Yeah,
money.
that's not true at all.
That is
I
very
think that most men are
I
perfectly
don't know.
fine.
I think that
Hey, you can coddle me. I will give you the dick.
All right.
I-
But I
20
okay,
bucks a shag, bruv.
I want to address that real quick, but I want to also the problem here is that there's no silver bullet. There is no one issue we can point to or one thing that we can point to is causing all the problems. It's multifaceted. There are a lot of different factors at play. Pornography is but one of many, right? That what you're talking about women not wanting to date down, so to speak, that's also a problem, right? Men have different issues. Again, they're not approaching women at all anymore, right? In a lot of cases, they've given up. Men have gone their own way, etc. They have their own issues. And it's all contributing to the same problem I think that we're seeing across the board. When it comes to women or men wanting someone that they earn more than, I don't think that's true. I think that they want to feel like they can contribute. I think that the problem here is that men want to feel like they matter. And in a lot of ways, they don't. They don't feel like they matter anymore. And in some ways, that's true. They don't. Women just do not need men in the same way that they did before. That's both good and bad. But when it comes to it, down to it, like if a woman made more money than me and wanted to support me, have at it. And I think most men would say the same thing.
Very great.
So I have to respond to that because I don't think that's true. So it is true. I think that there are many women who do not want to date down. So they don't want to date. I think I've heard from, like, I have seen like some evidence of that. I've also seen evidence that typically speaking, like most people date within about 4 years of age. Most people date people that like they find at work or that are within their communities.
Hey, not
and that are
Leonardo DiCaprio.
like most people are not Leonardo DiCaprio, and most people typically date people within that sphere, generally speaking. But I would agree with you that probably, generally speaking, most women typically are looking for somebody a little they do, who make a little bit more money than they do, and who probably are, frankly, a little bit taller than they do, right? Like that, those things are probably generally true. But the reverse, the thing that you're saying, that men do not want to date somebody, don't want to date up, I'm sorry, but that is just true. I know a lot of men, like in my own personal experience, like as somebody who's a graduate student, as a woman who works full time, okay, men typically hate it when I introduce by saying that I am in school for my doctorate. The first thing that happens is it pisses them off. And I'm not the only woman who has stories like that. Other women who have careers, women who work as CEOs, women who are lawyers, women who who work in higher professional jobs, when they try to date down, when they try to date men who make less money than they do, who have less education than they do, who like don't, in these cases, the men don't like it. The men typically speaking, they feel threatened by it. They get angry. They are not happy with these women.
Sounds like you know a lot of fragile men.
Yeah.
And these
No,
men
that's
are
like,
so-
this is from personal experience. Let me tell you, the game is the game, and men always want to date up.
So
You're
let me-
always trying to get a bad bitch with
Let
money.
me ask a question here. Let me ask a question because
Facts.
I
The
feel like
game's the game.
I feel like to some extent I actually agree with Modi on this one a little bit. I go out a lot, right? And I hate to be the guy that makes a meme. This is a big reason why I hate the red pill. And when they're sitting here going, "Oh, you need to make X amount of money, you need to do whatever, you got to work out," because I'll go to the club a lot of times, and I'm not complaining because, like I said, I do all right. But I see a lot of men that go out there, and these guys are felons. They got no money, they got no job, they got no car. They go and they find a woman
This
that's
guy.
that's got all these things, and they will start dating them because then they can mooch off them. And I feel like I mean, maybe it's anecdotal, maybe it's a meme, but I see this happen a lot, right? So to me, for me to see that, I don't know if I can personally agree. I don't, like I said, I don't have any statistics
Hey,
in front of me.
broke
I don't
boys
think
are
There's
up right now.
always going to
Hold
be
on,
mooches
I
and
really don't-
gigolos.
I really
Yeah,
don't
but-
think. I really
Nah,
don't
bro,
think
mooches
the
are up.
issue-
This is our season.
because I think that two things can be true at once. I think that the men in Fairy Queen and her compatriots experience probably do feel angry and feel threatened, but it's not because you make more. It's not because you're
'Cause their
smarter.
attitude.
It's not because you have these credentials. I would argue that if the first thing a woman that I'm talking to does is lead with, "Oh,
Flex.
I am X, Y, and Z, and I'm so powerful and great," I'm just not going to be wanting to talk to them at all because it's
That's
not
how-
about them being powerful and great. It's about that's what they're leading with,
No.
and that's a turnoff.
But
True,
that's
true.
how men take it. They do that all the time. We're like,
Do they?
even if you
Is that how
mention
they
your
take it?
job,
Nah, women
or
be
your
flexing,
career,
bro. They be flexing.
they immediately see it as flexing, and that's the problem. When women try to date, as you would say, down, they immediately see it as flexing. So that tells me you're insecure about
Yeah,
that
because they,
partner.
what if they like
possibly
flash the
being more
Rolex on you?
educated or
Yeah, you
having
want to tell the
the
time?
No, it's the same
But
problem
women
that
do that,
women
but
have when
yeah,
men
women
come
do
up with
that
their
too, yeah.
Bugatti and say, "Look at how
Yeah,
much money I
true.
made." Do you think that's a turn on for
Okay,
women?
okay.
All right.
Well,
I just have-
hold on.
Let's
No.
get
No.
organized.
One
Ginger,
they either
Ginger, go
one it
ahead.
either
We
does
kicked the
turn them
beehive.
on, and they're one it either does turn them on, and they're considered a gold digger,
Yeah.
or it doesn't turn them on, and they think it's really, really disgusting and gross that this guy came up and thought that because he has a Bugatti that he has a chance with her.
Yeah,
I mean, it does like 100%
that's the
of the
thing.
time.
Because you got a degree, right? That I'm supposed to look up to you, right? Or somehow, why?
Would you
Also,
agree-
thank
I
you.
mean,
I
if you're
changed
driving
the
a
rail.
Bugatti, you can
See,
spit
this
on
is
me.
the
I don't
problem.
care.
You're ascribing this as a men's issue when it's a skill issue on your part.
True,
No.
facts,
If you
facts.
sell it correctly, if you approach them right, it's a
Yeah.
blessing.
It's
Men
the
want
attitude,
this.
bro.
What
It's
they
the
don't
attitude.
want to
Hold on,
feel
all right.
like, what they don't want to feel like is they don't want to feel like
They're
they're
holding it over their head. Diddly diddly diddly.
That's
yeah,
how
no, they
men
don't want to.
feel.
They don't want to feel like like they don't want to feel like a woman who's being approached
Emasculated.
by this guy with all this money and stuff and
Yeah.
saying, "I have all these things. Date me because I have all
Yeah,
these."
as long as you don't
They don't
complain
wanna
about
feel
us
like
being
that.
broke, we
Okay,
don't mind.
okay,
All right,
I
let's go
just
to
need-
Fairy Queen here. Yeah, she wants to push back. I can tell.
Okay. All right, I need to push back upon this. The idea that women are coming and say, "Oh, I'm the CEO, I'm the lawyer, and I am
True.
so much smarter than you, and I know everything." And you just work, your job, and you make no. And I don't think that's true. And the reason
Women
why
are
I don't
evil.
think that's true is that women typically have the problem of dumbing themselves down when they are dating men. So this is a study. It was published by Match.com. Okay, according a new survey by
Match.com.
Match, over 2,000 participants about
Very
their
accredited
behavior
source.
Please,
during
please do
dating.
not tell me you're citing Match.com right now.
Let
In
her.
the hall.
At least do Tinder.
Hold on, Bodhi, let her
Oh,
finish. Let her
God,
finish.
I know you're British, but be quiet for 2
Bro,
seconds, okay?
Match.com,
I'm
bro? You
the
All right,
joking?
oh, let her go.
right
Let her go.
now.
Let her go. Let her go. Let her go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. In the hopes of playing down their intellect, over 50% of women on this study say that they've dumbed down on a date. This survey by the dating site Match.com asked 2,000 participants about their behaviors when it came to dating. The results revealed that 52% of female respondents say that they struggle to find someone who stimulates them intellectually, 37% feeling like they intimidate men with their intelligence. Sadly, this means that 59% have actually dumbed down on a date to
So
feel less
why are we
intelligent.
listening to losers who can't?
That's
You have to use Match.com. Losers who
wait,
have to use
wait.
Match.com to get a date. Right? Why are we
Wait,
listening to
yeah.
failures?
I
Why don't we
know.
listen
I
to
know a lot of. I know a
successful
lot of
people?
people that feel like
go
they have
Ginger,
to
then
dumb down their discussions with people. And let me tell you, most of those people are so retarded. Like, can barely string a sentence together. Retarded that thinks that they're high and mighty and smarter than everybody else.
I don't
Gibbs?
disagree with you, and I don't disagree like that may be true, but it's also true that oftentimes when women are dating men, they typically will laugh at jokes that really aren't that funny, right? That's a typical thing that happens. They will pretend to be
Dude, that's
stupider than they actually
Okay.
are. They will pretend that the guy is taller than I've had experience myself, and other women have had this too. I've met a guy who swore to me that he was
What?
5'8",
Do you think
right?
we're telling you the
Hold on,
truth
hold on.
when you ask us if we look fat in that? Do you think we're telling you the truth?
I am telling you that it is very often that men will present themselves and in a certain
Nice.
way. You as the woman want to make that man feel good about himself. So you laugh at
Let's-
jokes that aren't that funny. You pretend to not notice that he's shorter than he actually said he was. And you pretend to be stupider than he is so that he likes you and so he doesn't get angry at you.
Well, a lot
Alright,
of
hold on,
men.
Gender's
Hold
gonna
on,
lie.
men.
let's
I'm
hold
I
on.
gotta
Oh,
push back. I gotta push back.
shh.
Gibbs,
All
shut
right,
up for a minute. I gotta
Wick, then
push back.
Modi.
Let me
Wick, then
push
Modi.
back, okay? Because you were saying like these things that obviously this is true, but this happens also on the men's issues. We pretend that you're smarter and more interesting than you are. We pretend that you don't look fat in that dress.
Women
we
aren't
pretend
funny,
all these
bro.
things
Right.
because we want you to feel good about yourself.
I
That's
was
a good
literally
thing.
gonna say
and
almost the
women
exact
want
same
men
thing, like-
to feel good about themselves. That's a good thing too. I don't
Men
see an issue
also,
with this.
your boyfriend
after
usually
Ginger Modi.
will also make up for the fact that like you look different when you take your makeup off at night.
Yep. And they will
So-
they will tell you, hey, you know what, you're beautiful anyway. It's a lie, but we lie for the right reasons. We lie because, you know what, it's okay. We like you. We love you anyway, right? And we want you to feel good about yourself. So yes, we pretend that we pretend to be interested in things that you're interested in, just as you do with us. This isn't a gendered thing, and I take umbrage at the fact that you were trying to think.
Yeah. So hold on. Let's let Modi go.
Men do the
after
same kind of emotional labor that you were complaining about having to do.
All right, Modi, go ahead.
True.
I would just like to say that was a great debate, and I'm going to stand with Wick on this. But however, I have recently done some statistics of 10th. BuzzFeed did a study with 10,000
God.
people, and it decided that 80% of women
Doing
do
this
not
on
play
purpose.
stupider. No, this is a real article.
You're doing this on purpose.
No, I swear to Christ, 80% of people who did this, women who did this BuzzFeed article, have proven that they just aren't as funny as men, and they do not dumb themselves down. We're just intellectually superior. Thoughts?
Listen, friend, don't try to be Christopher Hitchens light tonight, okay?
How many
That's what I'm doing
billionaires
this
are
for,
women?
okay?
How many
You can read
billionaires are
that
women?
and have that review another time.
So let me ask a question.
Who runs the world?
Let me ask a question. So we were kind of arguing about dumbing things down. Let me give you an example, just for funsies, like because I don't really have a dog in this part of the fight, but wouldn't you agree that men do this as well? Like especially when it comes to like things like astrology and crystals. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll give you an example.
I've learned
That
so
shit
much about
bugs the
Tarot.
shit
I'm
out
gonna
of
give you
me.
an
I'm not
example.
gonna lie.
So I think I'm gonna just rat out myself. I think astrology and crystals are maybe the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life, right? However, thank God for Snapchat. It has a nice little thing where you can match with a woman and it'll tell you all the astrology symbols and what all this means and are matching. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I have gotten more dates and more follow-up dates just by going, look, the moon's in Mercury this week,
Good
and
for you.
guess what? It's showing that our sextiles are in order and we make a perfect match. Now, to me that sounds stupid as fuck, but to them, they're like, oh my God, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, if women
So
who
how
believe
is
in
that?
star signs are retarded, bro, which is like 85% of the nation.
So how is that any different than what you're saying?
I don't necessarily think it's
Just out of curiosity.
retarded if you believe in it. I do think,
No, it
however,
is. It is.
It's Harvey down here is trying to spit
hold
bars.
on, shut up for a
Hold on, one
second.
second.
Hold
Go
on.
ahead, Ginger. Yeah, go ahead.
I do think if it's your personality that it's your star sign or whatever, and that it's the very first thing that you bring up about yourself. Like, tell me about yourself. Well, I'm a Virgo. Nobody fucking cares. All right? That's not going to
I
explain
care.
who you are to
Ginger,
90% of the
I'm
population.
a feminist.
Ginger,
I
just real
care.
quick. The point is that men, a large portion of us who are actually, successful with women, will pretend to care
Oh,
because we
no,
know you
I
care
know
about
that.
that, and that's okay.
I know that.
And that's okay.
I'm okay
because
with that kind of manipulation
the reason
because
I'm saying
women get in
this,
their own way in some
the
cases.
reason I'm saying this is because Fairy Queen up there on her high horse in her ivory tower, right?
Yeah.
So high and mighty above us on
That's
the panel,
really
right?
racist,
Trying to
Wick.
rant
That's really
about how
racist.
women have to do all these things to make
Huh?
men feel good about themselves when men are doing the exact same thing. But the difference is, if men point it out, and here's the asymmetry, here's where we get into the problem here, is if men point this out, they're, oh, you're being sexist and toxic. And women point it out, they're yas queens. They're like, you're so right, girl. You're so great. You're so correct. How
I
did
don't
you
agree
get
with
so
that
smart?
anyways.
Is it because of all your degrees?
This is why we need to
See?
speed
Hold on,
run
Lethe,
to
go ahead.
equality
Go ahead.
so that everybody's catching the same heat.
Hold on, Lethe. Go ahead, Lethe.
I'm just saying, this is why we need to speed run to equality. This is why women's rates of suicide and violence and everything is going up, because they're finally catching a taste of what dudes have been going through this entire time.
No. Men are killing themselves at a more higher rate than women are at this moment.
No, I'm saying, of course they are. I'm saying
women at a
I'm
higher
saying it's
rate.
going up.
Unusual.
Okay.
I'm saying it's going up since women are more in the workplace, are now more career oriented in a lot of cases, have graduated
money, bro.
college. Now all of a sudden, all these issues that men have been dealing with are starting to be confronted by women as well.
They bagged
This
up,
is just
bro.
we're
Also-
coming on equality.
Women actually, they what's it called? They attempt more. Men just complete more.
Well, okay, so
Huh?
let me push
I
back
don't
on
know about
that.
that
Let
one.
me just push back
Yeah.
on that. So there's
I
also
don't know
Yeah,
about that.
completion's
I
the only statistic that matters.
I
That's all.
hate
I've never finished.
I hate to be the meme lord here once
Men
again,
always finish, by the way. Women don't always.
but
I've never finished ever.
This
yeah.
is in all contexts.
So let
I'm
me
a
just
feminist, so
let me just be the meme lord for a second. So I would argue a lot of times when people say the attempts versus the completion rate, a lot of times, and this is the meme, and I'm not saying this is accurate, so everybody in Twitch land, don't come for me, but a lot of people would argue that women attempting is just a call for help or a cry for attention, as opposed to men who are like, oh, this is a real issue, bang bang, right? So, like, would you disagree with that, Mooncake, or do you really want to stand on your
Wait,
ground
sorry,
about it?
can you say that again? I'm
So
sorry.
my basically I'm saying that you said women attempt more, men complete more, right? And I'm saying basically the meme or the joke is, or whatever you want to call it, is that women are just doing this as a call for help or a cry for attention, versus men are like, oh, I really can't deal with this, bang, and I'm done. Do you disagree with that like idea or no?
Yeah, I probably would disagree. All I know is that men usually have more access to guns. That's why they usually complete more. So it's just about the access.
We
Just
have
real
equal
quick,
two right
access.
here.
$2 from Grace
As
Thorpe
weapon.
to say Wick's beard looks like a skunk that had diarrhea. Thank you for those
Is that
$2.
really Grace Thorpe?
It is really Grace Thorpe. Yes.
No, but I'm just curious what part of the conversation we're still on. So is it of what like is it
Why
on
Fairy
that?
Queen is wrong. We're putting women in their place today. We're talking about why Fairy Queen is just incorrect.
Can I say something on a real level? If we're gonna put her like metaphorically in her place, I'm pretty sure Fairy Queen could beat your ass physically, Wick.
You know what? That's just that's a rumor. Okay, that's a lie. Unsubstantiated.
You got that
Okay, I'm
destiny
gonna need
build.
to say data to prove that. But
So
regardless, that doesn't matter because we are here on the field of wits and battle, and I promise you, I will win every single time.
Just what I
no
want
matter
to ask
what.
all right,
is it
go
that
ahead, okay.
you feel just like every single woman is trying to shoot higher or trying to get that higher individual? Like I guess that's where
Yeah, women don't generally want to date down. That's true. Yeah.
True, and unless they're charming like me.
when you say date down, what exactly do you mean?
Socioeconomically, they don't want to date anyone who makes less than them.
Is there any
True,
statistics?
actually,
Do you have any statistics
bro,
to support that?
they'll
Just out of
fuck
curiosity?
anybody, but they won't.
Okay,
Alright,
so
go ahead,
the
Ginger.
problem
Let's
with
go,
that,
Ginger, go.
the problem with that is that's actually more so for like the men, like, because there are men who make a ton of money, and usually men who make upwards of $100,000 per year don't care if they're dating somebody who like works at a bar or works at like McDonald's or something like that. But the
Yeah.
people who are on average making like $40,000 to $60,000, of course, they want somebody that is at least equal to what they have. But yeah, no, I don't.
Well, okay, so back in the day, Tom Arnold used to be married to Roseanne Barr, and people constantly made fun of Tom Arnold for being like Roseanne's pet because they knew he wasn't making the kind of money she was. So for some reason, men are looked down upon when they're in that position, and men take this to heart. Not all men, but a lot of men take this to heart to where they don't want to feel like they're a kept man. Now, I would say that this idea is changing as of recent, but it has been something societally for a very long time. And I'm glad we're finally getting to a point where we can accept these things and be cool with it. But usually a woman making $100,000 is not going to want a dude that works at Starbucks.
No.
If
Okay,
I
go ahead.
can,
go ahead.
Fair
yeah.
Queen, go ahead.
if I can just ask a question to Wick, okay? Because I feel like
Please.
you and I are the ones that are facing off here,
We're
okay?
making the content. These guys are just side characters, okay? That's fair.
No, they've
Come on.
been. Don't call them that. How rude, okay?
I'm
Don't
just being
say that.
honest.
This is why
Okay.
Wick doesn't invite me to anything.
Letty,
Okay.
you're
Well, I'm
up
gonna
too
ask-
late. Anyway, go
Well,
on.
since we're being honest, Wick, I'm gonna ask you an honest
I'm
question.
not taking that from a dude who has an action figure,
okay?
bro.
Do you really think that the majority of men today, like ages like 20 to 35, would really be okay with being a stay-at-home dad? Do you think the majority of men in the dating market right now would be okay with that? Honestly, do you really
If
think so?
women let
Yeah,
If the
them,
mother's
yes.
if the woman was rich, yeah, bro, I'd look after all your kids.
If
what I'm
women let
saying?
them, yes. But here's the problem. Women don't let them. Okay, so I have some statistics for you. This is from 4 years ago. It's a Pew Research published finding. Okay, so it's not Match.com. I know. It's Pew Research. A little different there, but we're going to go with it. So when it comes to how important it is for a husband to be a good husband, how important money is, 71% of all Americans, women and men, say a man's earnings are very important for him to be a good husband. When it comes to women to be a good wife, 25%. only 25% care about women's earnings. Now you can say that's unfair, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but that's true. So when we talk about whether men are okay with being having a woman make more than her, they would be if women let them, but women don't. Women don't. The amount of
Why is
shit you will get from women, right, other women, if your husband or significant other makes less than you, the amount of women who will tell you, ah man, kick that loser to the curb, kick that what do they call him, that leech, that
Deadbeat.
yeah, that deadbeat dad, whatever, that loser, right? You will get so much hate from that. Are you telling me I'm lying on this?
And girls that go after men that have money get told they're gold diggers. So what difference does it make?
All right, so we're gonna go to Modi
shit on
after and Fairy Queen. Go ahead,
Shouldn't
Ginger.
you be able to provide for your family?
Hold on. All right, we're gonna go Ginger finish out, then Modi, then Fairy Queen. Go ahead.
No, I said what I said. I'm good.
Oh, sorry. All right, Modi, go ahead.
Full of shit,
I
Wick.
have an opposite point of view compared to this. So, like we said, we're talking about dating up and women don't want to date down and stuff like that. I believe the more time a woman at the higher echelon of the income spends trying to date around with a lot of these men who are in the same bracket, a lot of them feel unfulfilled. I feel like there has been so many cases,
they don't want no
especially.
scrub?
No, I mean, what I'm saying is, like, even if they have money, it doesn't make up for shit personality. I know so many women, and plus I know so many guys who are the lower end Starbucks employees who are dating women who look after them. Not even look after them, they make their own money, but you know, were very much more financially dominant. But they give these women a person who has grinded for success, who's really like trying to make, who has ambition, who still has desires. I feel like a lot of women find companionship in these people, and it's less about money and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a massive thing for some people. I think as long as your ambitions and your lifestyles match up, let's say we both want to travel. If the woman wants a person to travel with and share her life, that's awesome. But if, let's say, a man wants to travel and a woman wants to stay at home, it's like the lifestyle differences and the money making. I think it's the difference in lifestyle and ambition is what the money affects more so than anything.
So I want to jump in before we go to Fairy Queen real quick. I actually want to give an anecdotal example that supports what Modi's saying. I'll give you one right here. This is going to sound bad on me, but for example, I make 3 times to 4 times what my ex-wife's current husband makes, right? So a lot of that I feel like is true with the ambition differences, the desire of what we wanted in life. Like I had like these lofty goals. I want to do X, Y, Z, and she was like, I don't want to do any of that, right? So like I feel like there is some truth to kind of what Modi's saying, at least from an anecdotal example, right? Where it's not like, hey, I can't even relate to what this person wants on an ambition level or whatever level because you might not be meshing as a person, or I might just be a dry personality. But that's just an anecdotal example. I don't have any stats to support that. Fair.
I mean, anecdotally as
bro.
well. Yeah, anecdotally as well. I mean, I've been in relationships where I've made more than the guy that I've been dating, and it didn't bother me because the guy had ambition and was
But also,
trying to
what
get
if
out
he
of
fulfills all your needs, makes you so happy, even though he can't monetarily fund you? It depends how much money matters to you. Because I'm the most broke person here by far.
Him.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making. I've been in the point where I've been super, super broke. Even now, I'm pretty broke. Yeah, I date or I see a lot of high-profile women, and I put like such smiles and happiness in her, and I love them like no one else will. And I feel like a lot of men of my status, the reason why you always see these girls dating down or with bums is because they make them really ridiculously happy, or they're just toxic. But we'll see.
That toxic's a big one. But Fairy Queen and then Mooncake, go ahead.
Toxic.
First of all, I was gonna say, like, I think that, like, what is your name, Moody or Mooney? Like, which
You can call me baby. Joking, Smokey.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna say Moody. Okay, so I think that what Moody and what Gibbs are saying is true. Like, before I address what you said, Wick, because it was wrong, and I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong in just a minute. Okay, but I think it's true. Typically speaking, like when we're dating, we want somebody that has the same ambition level, right? And so sometimes it can be the case, I think, that you might be making more money than your boyfriend, but your boyfriend might be an amazing poet. He might be great at the guitar. He might be an artist, right? And it's often like there are cases of women who make more money, they're more maybe professionally like successful, right? But they know that their boyfriend, that their partner, right, is really, really talented and really, really ambitious in this other way, even if it's not something that's necessarily as financially successful, right? That's why you wind up dating the rock star, right? That's why it's not just because it's not just about the money that the person has. It's also in part because of the social gratification that he receives, right, because of his position, right? There are plenty of women who will choose to date somebody that makes like about the same or not as much money, but because they have a position in society that other people appreciate, right? So it's the difference between, like, to give you an example, right? Like, if you are like a traditional like Christian conservative woman, right, and you have a choice between dating, you know, the town pastor as opposed to, you know, maybe a businessman who owns like 8,000 strip clubs, right? You're probably you miss out, right, when you date the strip club manager, as opposed to dating the pastor, right? Because the pastor is going to be the person that you're going to be able to bring home to your family, right? That's going to be the person you probably are going to be more easy to have. So I do think
The
that's
ones
true.
more likely to touch kids.
That too, but also, but the thing is, like, the point is, right, it's not just about the money, right? It's also sometimes for some people about like what it represents, right? It's about like the social position that you have in society, which is not always correlated with the money that you have. But now, to you, Wick, why you are wrong. I went to your favorite site, which apparently is pewresearch.com. Let me ask you a question, okay? When it comes to perception of domestic labor in the home, okay? How different do you think those perceptions are? Just
What
ballpark
the fuck
for
is
me. What do you think
domestic
they are?
labor?
Can I ask what that has to do with my assertion?
I'm going to tell you why, but I want you to answer the question first. So let's go.
The perception is that women do more manual labor in the home. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Do you think that has any
Good.
impact on the idea, on whether or not women want to marry men to be stay-at-home dads? Do you think that has anything to do with that?
Obviously it does have an impact. But the question isn't why this is happening. The question is it happening? And I think it absolutely is. You can argue about why all you'd like, but at the end of the day, my assertion was this is a thing that is occurring.
Okay.
And I don't know how that proves me wrong. In fact, it reinforces my point. So thank you, Fairy Queen, for ceding to me in this point.
Actually,
I
it only
appreciate you.
reinforces
It
my
takes
point.
a,
and
it
I'm
takes
gonna tell you
it takes
why
a
it
big
One at a
woman
time. One at a time.
to take that L. Okay, it takes a big woman to take that L publicly on stream.
Oh,
So I
okay.
appreciate you. This
Bro,
speaks
woman just
well
got
of you.
smoked by a
Okay,
man with a gun
if you
down,
can
bro.
take that L,
Take that
no, I
L.
won't make that joke. I won't make that joke. But fair enough. You can take an L. Let's say that.
Listen, okay, as far as this, first of all, it is just a fact, okay? Most women, like, this was a study, was published in Pew Research in about 2021. This was during COVID-19. Everybody was stuck inside the home together, okay? So lots of parents, both men and women, they were together in the home. And this is what it says, okay? Household chores and responsibility. Men, about 34% of them thought that the women did more, 20% thought that the men did more, and 46% thought that they'd shared about equally. For women, 59% thought that the woman actually did more household labor, 6% thought that the men did more, and 34% thought that it was about equally, okay?
Yeah, I don't know what like I get you. No one's counting that.
I'll tell you if you be quiet for 5 seconds, okay? The reason why that matters,
men
okay?
can't express their opinions in Fairy Queen's world. Wow.
That is such a
Okay,
toxic
fair enough.
trope, by the way. Men can't express their feelings. That's why they can't listen to statistics,
Discord.
okay? Your feelings will be fine, okay? Don't care about your feelings. Listen to Ben Shapiro, okay? One of the base things that he said. So, when we're thinking about these differences in statistics, okay, it makes sense why a lot of women would be hesitant to have somebody be a stay-at-home dad, because typically speaking, when men talk about what it is to be a stay-at-home dad, they think, and I've heard them talk about it, they think that the children are running wild, right? You know, the television is on, they're playing video games, they're going to smoke pot at the end of the day, right? You know, they're watching ESPN is playing in the background. Their little girl, like, her hair is askew. She hasn't been bathed in a couple of days. And this is fine.
Right? No one disagrees.
Okay.
Let me here. I think you're talking to this guy, right? Because I've not made that point or argued against that. So argue with him for a minute. I'll be back.
So
okay, it is significant that despite the fact that so many men think that it's so easy, that this job is so easy, that so many men don't want to do it. They flat out don't want to do it. They would feel bored. They feel tired and exhausted at the idea of being at home with the kids.
You're extrapolating data that's not there. They're not saying we don't want to do it.
Okay, so let's see. Let's actually find out. So you think that if
Does
I were
this
to
have anything to do with relationships?
No.
Yeah, let me just. All right,
I'm getting bored of this
bit.
shit.
Let's redirect this a little bit. Let's so Mooncake, did you have something you wanted to say? I know you had your hand up here.
Total Wick victory, by the way, but carry on.
It
or
I, it
Megatron.
was,
Either
So
way.
it
okay,
was
so all
honestly
right,
just a
I'm
question.
gonna redirect this a little bit. All right, unless
Okay.
you had something. So okay, so we've been talking about the traditional gender roles of household versus like modern ideas on sexuality and whatnot. So let's argue this. I'm gonna kind of come at Mooncake here a little bit. I know that she was complaining on a different panel, or maybe it was to me. I don't know. Everything all blurs together. I know you mentioned that it's crazy for you, right, for people to understand that you're lean left, and then yet you still want traditional values at home, right? So that's a very like kind of rare concept. So here's my question, right? Are traditional values like a goal we should have within relationships, or should we keep going with the sexualization and the modern acceptance of all these things? And if so, aren't these two things kind of like antagonistic towards each other, and aren't they going to cause problems within relationships?
What? Now?
So
Uh,
yeah, so I don't know this.
How
So,
important are traditional
I,
roles in a relationship and keeping that relationship going?
yeah, because that seems to be
I,
kind of where we're like beating around the bush here instead of hitting the nail on the head. What are y'all's opinions here?
Speaking about Bush,
I
clean Bush or it's not going to work.
I think you should just choose whatever works for you. But like I said, I'm left leaning. But I would prefer to be a stay at home mom. Like once I do have kids. And some people find that to be like a disconnect. But it's just
Yeah.
about what works for you. But socially,
Yeah.
I'm still lean left.
Right. So I guess my
And also,
question is, are we able to like reconcile the idea that people want traditional households with this idea of like the general acceptance of all these different styles of relationships? And is that
I
going to
mean,
be a problem going forward?
what's traditional anymore, bro? The world's changing.
Right. That's kind of my point here that I'm asking.
I mean, I think my traditional is, living at home with 4 women, each raising a baby of mine, creating an army and taking over
Yeah.
the world.
All right.
That's traditional to me.
Okay.
See, the ability for men to have stay-at-home wives is drastically
Multiple
dropped.
wives.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Can you afford multiple? That's in itself
They're going to
wild.
afford me, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a mooch. I'm going to 4 rich babies.
Okay.
So
4
just,
incomes,
just a
baby. I'm
fact
Let
here.
quadrupling.
Lethy go ahead first, and then go ahead.
Okay, go
I
ahead,
mean,
Lacey, but
I wasn't saying anything prolific. It's just the idea that a lot of men probably wouldn't want to have their girlfriend or wife stay at home and do the things that would traditionally happen, but it's not really possible. You need to have 2 incomes more often than not these days to be able to survive. Cost of living has gone up, everything's crazy. So to expect that you can be a stay-at-home wife once you have a kid is kind of a pipe dream in a lot of instances, unless you marry someone making $100,000 or more in a year. So that's all I was going to say.
so to your question, Gibbs, like you're saying that like marriage is in trouble, like relationships are failing. That's just not borne out by the data. Divorce rates are down. Actually, in the last 10 years, then we're at a pretty low point. I don't know about in the last 100 years. You're probably right, but in the recent history, divorce rates are actually down. More marriages are staying together
Well, let me
than they
ask you
have
this,
been
Wick.
before.
Let me ask you this. So here's how I read that data, because I have read that, and this is how I read it. I read it when we look in conjunction with other data about like millennials having less sex and whatnot. It looks to me the reason why marriages and divorces are down is because less people are getting married because they're having problems getting into a relationship in order to be married in the
That's
first
good.
place. That's good.
That's good. I think that you shouldn't get married unless you're willing to stick it out. I think marriage isn't for everyone, and that's okay. I think people recognizing that, hey, marriage just isn't for me is a good thing, actually.
All right.
I
Well, how
think a
about you
lot of
try a
people
couple to
rush
see how
into
far you can
marriage.
get?
All right,
I
no,
just
hold
think
on
too
one
many
second.
people
One
rush
point
into
of
marriage.
interest. I think Modi has to leave because he's got to wake up in 4 hours for work. Modi, you want to have any closing
It's his bedtime.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well,
It's
he
not
is
my
in another
bedtime,
country.
bro.
That's
You
fair.
know, here's the thing,
Artie's
bro.
got to go.
He's like
I
plus
gotta
6 hours
go.
away
I've
from
got to
us.
go get internet in my new place because I'm currently staying with 4 of my polyamorous wives. Not that you'd have anything to do with women, Wick. You can just talk about them. But hopefully you have a good night. Play with your action figure, and I'll play with some titties. The rest of you, you're all really cool people. Wick, you can suck my dick, and I can't wait to face you in battle. Bye.
Deuces.
Yeah, I'll see you later, buddy.
Later, Modi. All right. Back. So yeah. So
Why is
back.
everyone asking me to suck their dick though? Like,
Hey,
can we
maybe
talk
it's
about
because
that for a minute?
maybe
You gonna start that OnlyFans
maybe
soon?
start that OnlyFans, bro. Maybe you should.
Look, if you guys give me enough money, maybe. But damn,
That's how you get the money. You
I'm
got to
just
start
saying
it.
that
If you
if my
build it,
chat,
they
I
will
told my
come
chat this,
in
and
more
I'll
ways
tell
than
Twitch
one.
chat too. If you guys give me $50, I'll take my shirt off. I'm just letting you know, right?
hey,
Guys, someone give him $50 to take his shirt off.
So
Go
yeah.
ahead, $50. Let's go.
So yeah. Back to what you were saying. Where you're saying that you think
Moon wants it.
you think it's a good thing that people aren't getting married now in general. You think that that's a good thing. Is that correct, Wick?
No, I think that the fact that people who aren't ready to get married or who aren't ready to commit to marriage aren't getting married is absolutely a good thing, yes. And I think that we can showcase this by showing divorce, because divorce hurts people for the most part. Like there's exceptions, there's good reasons for divorce, absolutely. But especially with kids involved, divorce is suboptimal. I want marriages that do happen to stay together, and the fact that we have more marriages staying together today than we had 10 years
So let
ago
me
is
push back on
I
generally
was
this.
positive.
ecstatic when my parents got divorced. It was the greatest moment of my life.
So let me push back on this a little bit, Wick. Just for funsies here. The little play devil's advocate. I come from.
Okay, $50, gang. Fargo lefty.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
sorry
go.
about
Yeah,
this.
strip,
Go
pop
ahead.
strip. Yeah, everything for
I
capitalism.
hate your chat so much.
We know I'm
I love
capitalist.
his chat. Let's
Let
go.
me push
Play
back
the
on
slow
this.
music.
I come from like Nueces County, which has been the #1 teen pregnancy rate for as long as I can remember, right? So here's my question. So you're saying that you think it's better that these people have children and never get married, and these people have like multiple baby daddies and multiple people in their life, as opposed to being married and possibly having a divorce. Is that what you're advocating, Wick?
I'm sorry, I was taking my
So
shirt
sorry,
off.
yeah.
I
So
couldn't hear
basically,
you.
I come from the highest teen pregnancy rate county in the nation growing up, right?
Mm.
And so basically, these people never get married. They have multiple baby daddies, multiple significant others. The men have children with several women, etc., etc. And I see a lot of problems with these people and these children growing up because of that. And so based on what you're saying to me, based off what I've seen, that you're advocating that you think it's better these people never get married despite having children outside of wedlock. You don't think that that's
Mooncake
an
is
issue?
happy.
Well, I'm sorry, Mooncake super distracted me. She's way
love it.
too
wait. Let
excited
me
about this.
answer this
I've
for you,
got
Wick.
questions.
Go ahead.
Let me answer this for you, Wick.
Please,
Um,
because
So you're saying that that somehow these people being married will stop them from having
No,
as
I'm
many
saying
kids as possible?
no. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, are you arguing basically that the idea that it seems to be like we've had lots of evidence that marriage seems to be good for raising children. Like we
I
have less
don't
violence.
think that these people that are willing to have like multiple babies with multiple people, I don't think that marriage is gonna clear that up for them.
Okay, you don't think so? Anybody else have any thoughts? Nobody else have thoughts?
hey, $50 more and I'll put my shirt back on, gang. Okay. Just,
Jesus Christ, Wick.
You ain't getting $50
all right, I want to
more
make
there.
money. Like
Shameless.
everything
shameless
comes
shill.
secondary. I don't like. Here's some advice for you streamers, okay, gang. Money talks, talk walks. Okay. Everything comes back to how much money can we make together at the same time. Okay. So I want you to
So,
make money too. So like Lethy, I bet you could get $50 from your community too right now. Okay. Admiral
it's
Gibb, I'm sure you could as well.
Yeah, I mean, the
Just
good thing
gotta-
I'll
about
take
me
my
is
shirt off for
Yeah.
less. 25, and I'll take my shirt off. We're all good.
I'm not gonna do that because I don't need the money that bad. But I definitely respect the capitalism hustle personally. But feel free to do whatever y'all
So
want to do.
I guess back on topic though, right? If we want to talk about like the dynamics of teen pregnancy and things like that, I would rather them stay unmarried than get into a marriage that's just going to end in 2 years or 3 years, right? I think it is ideally what I would like to see is no single parent households. I would like to see couples, right? I think that single parents are probably one of the leading indicators of problems in people's lives down the road. That's obviously, we're generalizing. There are exceptions to this. People can overcome the things that they have going for them. But I think two parents in a household is generally good for the family. Again, there are exceptions. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think we're moving towards a new normal. Like, I feel like at some point we're gonna see like 3-parent households, like moving forward. And I think that could become like, I don't know, like as society progresses.
Is that because of polyamory or like?
Yeah. I
You
feel like
think that's
because
a good
people
thing?
don't really, okay, sorry, this I think people don't really believe in the idea of marriage anymore, because it is like supposed to be religious. I think more people are doing things like common law, and we are seeing more open relationships, right? People aren't really staying together or staying monogamous. So I just think it's something that we may see start to be more normalized.
Yeah, but is that good? is the question, right? Is that going to be good for society or bad for society? I would argue that it's probably, based on the data that we have, going to be a negative for society.
I mean,
think that
how else
parents.
do we? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'll just be brief. I'm sorry, I talk a lot.
You're
I'm
fine.
very womanly in that way. But I'll say this, right? That I think that having two or more stable adults in a household is very helpful for a child. And I think another reason that two parents in a household are good is because it acts as a model for a healthy relationship for children growing forward and going up. I think that a lot of people lack that model. They lack that good role model of a healthy relationship to kind of look to, and it sucks, and it's really a problem.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about polyamory and about open relationships a little bit because I think that's a so I don't know how I feel about it. What I will tell you what I've noticed in my dating life, like when I have met people. There's a meme on TikTok where women will wear like a mustache and a beard, right? And then you'll like describe yourself as like what kind of man you've met in your life that you look like. If those of you who are on TikTok, you know what I'm talking. And one of the memes that I saw was, I look like I'm going to tell you about polyamory and all the benefits of it before I even know your first name. Okay. That was one of the, and we know exactly what this person is. And I have met that person in my dating life, right? So I think that there are probably healthy ways where people can be polyamorous and they find it fulfilling, and maybe they find open relationships are what works for them. But there are a couple of problems that I foresee with open relationships and polyamory. First of all, a lot of the men, at least who I've met, who have introduced this, honestly, like they feel kind of weird to me. Like when I meet them, and that's the first thing that they want to tell me about, right? It doesn't.
Absolutely, yeah, it's weird.
They got to start recruiting.
It feels like they don't really want to know me as a person. It feels like they're trying to recruit me into a harem, right? And so I'm not necessarily. It's not exactly your best opening line. But B,
Gotta catch them all.
When I look at like other people who have had open relationships and people that I know, right? I'm not, the jealousy is the least of the problems. The problem is like it feels dangerous, right? It feels like there's a potential that you might be inviting somebody who might also become jealous of your partner, might cause problems in your relationship, right? I'm too like Glenn. Have you guys seen Fatal Attraction? You know Glenn Close when she puts the bunny in the pot of boiling water, right? This is what I'm afraid of, like in terms of open relationships, right? It's if you like have an open relationship and the person that's invited in turns out to be somebody that's a toxic influence for you and your partner, right? So I'm not necessarily, I could see persuasive, I could see why it works for some people. It seems very risky. And it also seems, as I think, Leafy, you mentioned this earlier, maybe Moody did, right? That a lot of men seem to have the perception that they're going to have like a ton of women, right, to have sex with, right? But then are extremely picky about you dating other men, right? They do not want this to be a two-way street.
I did agree with that, but I didn't say it.
I feel like men get to learn that the hard way, you know, because this is what they're asking for. I think like then let them have it, but open relationship on both sides. Because if you don't listen, you're going to feel, right? And I think once they realize, oh, she has more access to men, maybe they'll start to understand how it's really going to work.
So yeah, I feel like that's a major thing. Actually, I feel like that's a reason. Like you see, I think Letha mentioned this earlier. That's why you see a lot of swingers, as opposed to I think you see a lot, as opposed to less. I mean, at least personally in my life, I know a lot of swingers, right? As opposed to I don't see so many poly things working out because I feel like there is this thing where men are going to go after the woman a lot more, as opposed to the man who's going to have to try quite a bit harder to find equal whatever. So in that case, it almost feels like unbalanced whenever these polyamory things become open and that sort of thing. And I feel like that might be a big problem. Now, here's my question. Do y'all think that this is a good thing, that this is becoming more of a norm? Because I mean, just like recently we've seen high profile, people just on in the streaming universe have like one person got shot like last week, right? Another person, there's a breakup and they're advocating, oh, well, this person was toxically introduced to this person and they said, oh, get with me or there's gonna be suicide, like all these terrible things, so like, do you think that this polyamory is like becoming the norm is a good thing? Like,
so I would argue in this case, right, that you're putting the cart before the horse. You're pointing to a symptom and you're saying it's the cause.
Well, what is the cause then?
The people who are in a relationship that has someone come in and tries to shoot you, right? Like the just the like I'll say it this way: streaming attracts mental illness. Okay,
Really?
streaming attracts mental illness,
Mhm.
and when you have people who are the most extreme, because you want to stand out, and one of the ways you do that is by being very extreme. Okay, and by being very extreme leads to extreme lifestyles, and this kind of extreme lifestyle can be dangerous and harmful. I don't think that this is a matter of polyamory causing these things, because I could imagine people who are more stable are probably more successful in their relationships. I think it's the instability just in general. Though I will say that Hunter and that situation, I don't think that has anything to do with polyamory. I'm not 100% right. I don't make other people's shit into drama, but it doesn't look like polyamory had anything to do with that. It looks like someone went crazy. So
Yeah, you can always have an abusive ex or something like that that is going to be a problem in the future. That's why I was saying, like, relationships are going to have issues no matter what. Marriages are going to end, relationships are going to end, which is why I also don't really agree with getting married, because at this point, getting married, there's more in the world. Like, we're all changing, we're growing as people, and if you happen to grow apart with all the information there is in the world at your fingertips, it's more likely that you're going to get divorced because you're not going to be able to relate to your significant other.
All right, Ginger.
I really do think that the only way to lessen the divorce rate is to not get married.
True.
The less people to get married, the less divorces we'll have.
Because I had a buddy that just got divorced recently, and like pretty much between him and his wife, they were able to make the mortgage and all that other stuff. They got divorced. He ended up having to pay a bunch in divorce lawyers, going to court. Then he had to get a second job, slinging pizzas on top of the job he already had. Like, it didn't make his life any better getting married. If he'd just broken up, he probably wouldn't have to get a second job.
he should have just started an OnlyFans, okay? And then he could make all the money in the world, right? It's super easy, right? I made $50 to take my shirt off, and that's nothing, right? That's softcore.
Told you, Wick. If you build it, they will come.
Fairy
Right.
Queen?
See? And if I took $50 to take my shirt off, I'd be called a slut, okay? This double standard shit has got to stop.
No, I'd be TOS. I
Call me
say
a
free the
slut.
nipple.
Do it. I dare
That's
you.
another
Oh my
problem.
God.
Over sexualizing women's
Do it
bodies.
slowly,
Titties are
though.
natural.
Absolutely
It should
not.
not be an issue.
Fairy Queen?
So again, on the subject of polyamory, this is not an argument against polyamory, like just exactly against it, right? Because this might be a problem just with representation and information, right? But at least with monogamy, with monogamous relationships, I can think of films, I can think of books. I have seen monogamy modeled for me. Like, I know like, there's so much advice that exists out in the world, and like I feel like I understand what a monogamous relationship is supposed to be and what it is supposed to look like, right? I don't know anything about what it would, how to manage a polyamorous relationship, how to manage an open relationship, and I don't have a model. I don't have a good model of a good, healthy polyamorous relationship to like base it off of, and I also don't know of many representations in films or books. Now, that's not an argument necessarily against polyamory. Perhaps it can work, and perhaps there are people who do really well in it. It's just, I feel like for me, I feel like I would be set up to fail to do it. I don't think I would have the tools to know what to do with it or how to make something like that work.
I honestly couldn't. I have to 100% admit that my jealousy would definitely be an issue for me. Like, I can like, especially with my boyfriend now. I mean, I obviously couldn't think about sharing my other boyfriend, my other boyfriends. My ex-boyfriend.
With my boyfriend, I can't think of sharing my other boyfriend.
Yeah, that sounded so bad. But no, the idea of him being in bed with another woman, or something like that, like, and I wouldn't want to be in bed with another man, like, so there would be no point for it to be open on my side, and it would only be open on his side, so it's like, and my jealousy couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it as like who I am. It would break my heart.
I'll say this just quickly as I can. I think it's okay that we are more open as a society and tolerant of someone who wants to be in a polyamorous relationship. I don't think that they should be excluded or exiled or shunned. However, that said, I think that society should also not push polyamory. I think that the norm being monogamy is good, actually, and we should keep that. So while I'm all on board with people not being shamed or shunned for wanting to indulge in polyamory, I don't think we should push it or celebrate it. Does that make sense?
Fair.
Yes.
I don't think that anybody's side really should be pushed. You know, I think that's
No,
where we
I
get
think
into
it's
where
okay
we
to
get
push monogamy.
But see, that's the problem though, is
Monogamy
that
kinda
pushing
pushes itself.
monogamy is what pushing monogamy is what leads people to polyamory in the first place. Like the idea that there's only one structure of being able to be with somebody can make people want to go the opposite direction completely. It's just like when you're brought up extremely religious and then you grow up absolutely hating religion or anything to do with, you know, religion in general, and every time religion's brought up it's like a fucking, you know, you fireworks going off in your head, PTSD type shit. Like
I
that's
don't
kind of what it is.
I don't think that monogamy being pushed is what leads to polyamory. And when we say push, right, I don't mean that it's the only one true way. But when we do say push, I mean say when you structure society and how to deal with things like healthcare, how to deal with child rearing, how to deal with work and scheduling and all these things, right? When we structure society like that, I think it makes sense to structure it around monogamy because that is what a large majority of people are going to end up following it. And I think it's perfectly acceptable
let me
to
just
structure
pause.
society around the norm.
Let me just pause here real quick. Mooncake, it's got to go here. You go ahead and
Yeah,
give it out.
sorry, I gotta work
Mooncake.
early. But thank you. It was nice talking
It
to
was
you
a
guys.
pleasure.
Congrats.
It was a
Oh
pleasure.
yes, nice meeting you.
Yeah,
We'll
meeting
we'll
you.
argue more at some point.
Good. Good.
Yes.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
Mooncake. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. Is that okay?
Tables
Gib?
have turned. You all are outnumbered.
No,
They
Wick's still
were
here.
outnumbered before with Moody here. So
Well, the tables have turned multiple times.
Yeah, it's back and forth. You know, we have a very fair panel. You know.
No, the men are outnumbered. You're good.
I have a question about jealousy. So my question is like you mentioned before, like feeling jealous in like your relationship, right? I know, like for me, and I'll just be open. Like I know that like when I am not jealous in my relationship, it means that I don't care. It means that I'm not invested. It means that I'm not attracted to the other person, right? In relationships where I have felt jealous, it is because I did feel attracted to that person, and it actually would have hurt me. So I have had different experiences with jealousy depending on who it was that I'm dating. Sometimes the idea like made me really upset and like I kept it to myself, but sometimes I didn't care and it didn't matter to me. So when people say that like they're not jealous people, right, that they don't experience jealousy, I mean, everyone's different, and like this is an open-ended question. Is that genuinely true for some people? That like some people are genuinely just not jealous about some things, or does it just reflect a lack of investment within the relationship itself? Right?
I don't
That
There's a
necessarily
level of
think it
personal
reflects it.
security.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think it reflects like a bad thing onto the person who doesn't get jealous or feel jealousy. I think more it's so like if you're more comfortable with yourself, the more comfortable you are with your partner, you know, being okay with things. I have a lot of insecurities. I'll admit that. That's why my jealousy takes a hold of me sometimes, you know. Been through a lot and the insecurities do get me. That's my baggage. I'm insecure. You know, I mean I have a lot of baggage, but that's just one of my big baggages. Okay.
so
Um
I
go
think
ahead.
it really depends on I think this is more of an individual thing because I used to be much more jealous than I am today of things and of people and things like that. It's something I've grown into and out of and uh everything in between, right? I think that jealousy look, jealousy is the death camp of emotions. It's where relationships go to die.
Really, I
If
disagree.
if a relationship's going to die, it's going to almost always be involving jealousy of some sort, right? Resentment and things like these are all connected. That said, I think jealousy can manifest in very healthy ways. As Fairy Queen was saying, it shows interest, right? You have interest in a thing or a person, right? And you want them for yourself. And when uh, the concern, the anxiety, the worry of them wanting things other than you, more than you, is a very healthy, normal human emotion to have. Now, what happens though is how people act on that feeling can be what's the buzzword?
Toxic.
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 Yeah, cancerous. And I think that a lot of people, we are in a society where if we feel a thing, it justifies us acting in a certain way, right? Oh, we have decided to place emotion and feeling above all else. But you know what? Women, especially, need to just be told that their emotions don't matter. These are the facts of the matter, okay? Right? And I think that for whatever reason, we have decided to pedestal women's feelings and emotions over men to a huge degree. Men are not allowed to be the main character anymore.
So
Okay?
let me
In a
just
real, real way.
I'm gonna agree with some of what you said, but I'm gonna disagree with a couple of things. One, first, jealousy can be bad in a relationship. However, I've definitely had relationships fail because I wasn't jealous enough, like in regards to things. Because sometimes you
That's
want
so
that.
fucking stupid.
It sounds stupid on its head, but let me explain why. Sometimes, like I've definitely maybe it's just because I love toxic women. Unlike y'all boys, I love them. I'm a big fan of some toxic in my life. It's spicy, it's exciting, it's fun. But they don't like. There's a level of toxic that's acceptable, right? Like if they're throwing glass at me and it's shattering, or they're stabbing me, that's too much, right? But like
So do you
sometimes
stop at Amber Heard or like a
I mean,
little lower?
listen, if she's shitting in my bed, that's one thing. If she's over here trying to stab me, that's another. Whatever. But like on a real
She did
note,
both.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, she's a little too much. But but in regards to that, like, I mean, who doesn't like it whenever they're like, I mean, I can't speak for women, but I definitely like it whenever I've had girls that are like, oh, they're like, I think it's kind of hot. They're like, oh, I don't want that girl talking to you, and they're like, oh, okay, she's claiming me, right? Or like, oh, same thing. They're like, oh, I didn't like the way that guy was looking at you, or whatever. And you're like, oh, because you're my girl. They're like, oh yeah, they feel like they belong. There's like a healthy jealousy, and then there's like toxic, too much jealousy, right? Now, as far as what Wick's saying that is true is I've definitely had girls within relationships that I know, and maybe this is the Latina thing that I deal with because I have deal with a lot of Latinas, and they'll be like, oh, I felt so strongly about it that I was justified in my actions by what I did afterwards, right? And then they're like, oh, my man can't be mad at me because I did this because I felt so strongly that it must be right. And even that could be whether they're like, oh, they cheat, or if they're like, oh, you acted a certain way and I felt so
That's so
strongly about it.
insane.
Yeah, it sounds insane, and that's where I agree with Wick on this. We're like, oh, okay, listen, your feelings don't matter, but I feel like there is a difference between healthy jealousy and like toxic jealousy, and that's a whole different conversation than like, oh, my feelings were justified, so I acted on that, and like that's a whole different, I think, issue.
Just
Well,
FYI, I do have to go at 10. So
cool. So
It's
like
fine.
there's levels of insecurity. There's jealousy and then there's insecurity. If you're an insecure person, it doesn't really take anything to set that off. If it's jealousy, you're more than likely feeling like you might be being betrayed or you're just not getting the best out of your relationship. And when you're feeling like you could possibly be being betrayed, that's going to weigh on you a different kind of way. So the insecure portion is more toxic, I would say, than just pure jealousy or anything on that order. But just knowing that you're secure in your relationship should be enough to keep away that negativity.
I don't know, because like I said, I feel my insecurity outweighs a lot of things sometimes, but like I that doesn't fall into like toxicity for me. Like I've never I've never lashed out at somebody for breaking my heart. It's more been like something like um
Mhm.
I will just disappear. Like I'll just leave. Cuz I cuz
Would you
to
not
me
say
there's no,
is
no, no.
that
That's
not a
no,
terrible
no.
thing?
That is very toxic, but it's just like a completely different toxicity. Like as opposed, because it's like, yeah, I should definitely give somebody the option to explain themselves.
Mhm.
And I've gotten better at that. But like my toxicity was
Mhm.
it was like instead of uh
Mhm.
being like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that because I'm
Mhm.
so angry. It's more so I'm so angry and I'm so shut off from this
Mhm.
that there's not even anything that you could say that could make it okay for me to be with you anymore.
Mhm. I
And you didn't ever
joined.
give them the option.
Yeah, no,
Well,
yeah.
I'll join Ginger. Like, I know for me, like, one impact of like feeling jealous for me is becoming obsessed about, okay, how can I improve myself to be better, right? How can I make myself better? So I would obsessively work out. I would excessively like counted calories, right? I would try to dress better, right? I would try to like analyze every single aspect of my personality to see what could be improved, right? Like, I would ask people like, what's wrong with me? Like, how can I get things better, right? Like, so is it possible maybe that like if that is the impact of you feeling jealous, like isn't that, I hate to say, maybe that could be a good thing, right? Because it's pushing you to try to make yourself better as a partner, to try to keep the other person around.
You can.
Well, you can, but that's not necessarily healthy. You should want to be the best you can be for you, not because of somebody else. It can be also for somebody else, but it should be for you first. So if you're getting healthy, it should be for you. If you're doing it because you're insecure and thinking you're not enough, that's not necessarily the most healthy way to go about it.
See, sometimes those
on.
overlap.
Here's Wick.
Hold on. Let's pause for a moment. I think it's entirely okay for you to strive to be better for other people. I think to fulfill obligations, to fulfill responsibilities, to just be a better person for another person isn't necessarily unhealthy or toxic. In fact, sometimes it's very, as Fairy Queen said, it can be very motivational. I think that we have decided as a culture that we are enough and we shouldn't have to try for anyone. No, fuck that. You have to try for people. Be a better. If you aren't getting it, if you're having, gang, I want to talk to you, dear audience, you, my chatter friends. If you are having troubles in relationships, get better, do better. Okay, be a better person, work out more, right? Be happier, be healthier, be better, a better communicator. Try and strive and do all these things. What you don't want to do is get into this trap where, oh, people just need to love you for who you are. No one loves you for who you are. No one. They love you because they think you're great. And if they don't think you're great, be great. Do what it takes to be great. Sell yourself.
Okay, I don't agree with that, but there are aspects of that in which I do agree with. Which is there's a thing that's been thrown around the internet for like the past like 2 decades, basically. If you don't want me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And I think that's absolute fucking bullshit. Because
garbage.
Nobody wants anybody at their worst. All right? And you shouldn't feel like you deserve to be wanted when you're acting your worst. Like
we should keep raising the floor.
Yes,
so that
exactly.
your worst is
so, like,
progressively better and your better is closer to your worst.
It's really bad to live your life or live your relationship life trying to be that way and being like, oh well, you know, if you don't want me when I'm a screaming bitchy fucking cunt of a woman, excuse my language, you don't deserve me when I'm at my highest class. Like, no, go fuck yourself.
All right, let's pause before we go to Fairy Queen. I know Wick has got to leave. Here's what we're gonna do. Point of order. I'm gonna let Wick give an outro, and then we can continue this. And I have a few people that want to get in. I don't know what y'all's time schedule's like, but if y'all want to stay, I think I'm gonna let a couple people in. But Wick, go ahead and give your outro, and then.
Oh yeah, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I don't know why people don't invite me to these things. I think I'm a good guest, but hey, I appreciate the invite. I thank you.
He says with no shirt.
Indeed. Well, you know what? That's okay. I'm drawing the viewership. Okay, this is what they tune in to see. I'm making you money. I'm making you viewers. I'm getting you clout. Okay. That said, I got a couple cool things coming up this week that I think you'll all be interested in, right? So tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern on my channel, which you can find me at twitch.tv/wicktv or kick.com/wicktv or youtube.com/@wick-tv. All of these places you can find me, okay? Tomorrow, we're going to be having, Fairy Queen's going to be coming on my show. We're going to have Lav. We're going to have Brittany Simon. We're going to have Natsa Erudite, and we're going to have Rora Pickles as well. And we're
This
going to be
is like
talking
his
about
4th all-woman panel, by the way,
this
that he hasn't
I didn't
invited
do
me
this
to.
on one on purpose. This one isn't on purpose.
All right.
Okay?
By the way, okay.
It's okay. He
Ginger,
doesn't invite me to the panels either, so it's all right.
Okay. We're going to talk about exploitation. Then on Thursday at 6 p.m., something entirely different. We're going to be talking about, is Trump a threat to democracy? We're going to have IRI. We're going to have Josiah. We're going to have Drone Tech, first-time guest on my show. And we're going to have Average Debate check it out. Tune in. Thanks for putting up with me. I love every single one of you. Sorry if I got heated, but we gotta fight.
See, Wick loves black people.
Have a good night,
For
Wick.
now, I'll see you
Thanks
guys
for
later.
joining.
Peace
Bye.
out, Wick.
Good to talk to you, man.
All right, Fig, we go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I like it. If y'all have any
Oh,
time
no,
issues,
no.
just let me know. I'm gonna be going for a little bit here, and I think we'll open
No,
it up
no,
here in a moment. But we're gonna open it up to people that I know are not gonna get me TOS'd. So that's how we're gonna do this.
I mean, the night is still young, Gibbs. The night is young.
We're gonna be watching that one. I'm not catching no more bans. That's my one rule. But go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna run to the bathroom and run right back as fast as my cat. Okay, but here's what I want to say. So I hear that, Leafy, right? Like I hear what you're saying, and like it feels true to me. It also feels like it does not line up with any of my life experience, right? Like I hear like people saying you need to be your best for you, right? You need to be yourself for you. Like you need to do all these for you. I just have to be honest with you. Like in my non-dating life, I will really like for just personal experience. I focus really hard, like going on the gym, focusing on my career, focusing on my job. All these things, right? But then, right, start dating somebody, and then, start eating more potato chips. You start going to the gym as often, right? You do tend to get a bit fat, right? Like that tends to happen, right? So I don't know. Like I understand what you're saying, but I find that actually in my life, I find that I'm doing these things because I want to draw people to me. If I didn't care about drawing people to me, right? I probably wouldn't do these things as much. And that's maybe a flaw of mine, but I don't think it's unique to me. I think it's probably true of a lot of people.
I assume everybody wants to feel good.
Thank you so much for
right?
the raid,
Yeah.
Wick. I appreciate it. Appreciate the raid.
So in reality, you want to go to the gyms because you want to feel better. You want to eat right because you want to feel better. We do these like love makes you fat. I've heard this a million times, and it's pretty much true. But that's because you've lost the motivation within yourself to continue bettering yourself and continue being the best you can be. You figure, well, I've already gotten to the finish line. We're good. I'm going to stop now. That's because you don't have the drive within yourself to continue making yourself better on a daily basis. And I think that's when you're at your best. And usually you shouldn't be in a relationship unless you were in a good place. Because when you get in a relationship in a bad place purposely to try to fix something that's wrong with you or not pay attention to something that's up with you, you're going to end up hurting yourself in the long run or the other person. So, like, honestly, it comes down to self-care first and then whatever comes after that.
Ginger.
Hmm.
Please tell me I'm not the only one that gets fat when they start dating someone.
Oh, that's most people. There's most people.
Yes. Well, I actually I tend to happen to do that too. Right when I start to realize it though, because I understand like that becomes with complacency. Like you become so complacent with who you're with and you love them so much and they love you and it's like that even regardless you wake up and you look like fucking hell in the morning, they're still like, I love you and you're beautiful, like
The morning breath kiss.
yeah, type situation. But after I realized that, like, okay, this is, you can fucking get back together because it's not healthy for you and you don't want to get complacent. You want to make sure that things are spicy and you can attract them in that certain way, and regardless of whether they love you or not, that attraction's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Here's another question that I have. Okay, so I remember like you, and I agree, right? Like you said, like you should not want me at my worst, right? And you said, being really angry, right? Like throwing, like Gibbs mentioned, like the bad toxic, like you're stabbing people and throwing glasses of drinks right up against the wall, right? Like obviously there's that kind of bad at your worst, right? But then there's the other kind of worst. Like I know, like so I used to be like really overweight. I used to be like 220 pounds. Like I lost a lot of weight. Like I focused.
I was 225.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, twinsies! How crazy is that? In more ways than one, the hair thing continues.
Yeah, see, we look exactly the same, and we got similar stuff going on.
I know. How about that? Well, that's really cool. Well, first of all, congratulations, you look amazing.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, but secondly, right, like I know for me, right, so of course, like if you're doing bad things, right, if you're being a toxic person, right, obviously I don't want somebody to love me, right, if I'm being actually like an angry, abusive person, right? But I will tell you, like when dating people, and when I hear from the men that I'm dating, right, oh, I would never date that person, she's so fat. I would never date somebody who's so overweight, right? Like I hear these things, and like it's instant bitterness, right? Like, I don't know if this is going to work, right? Because I don't know if like you've experienced the same thing, but the minute somebody says that, even if technically, okay, it's true, you should be better with your weight, you should be better with your diet, you should exercise, et cetera, right? But the knowledge that if I met you like 80 pounds ago, that you would be you would treat me completely differently, like instantly changes the way that I interact with you, right? And I'm sure it's, you know what I mean?
Let me hit
okay.
you with something. Let me
I
just
was
hit
wondering if there's a woman version of a
So-
moped.
So hold on, let me just hit y'all with something, which is interesting because I also went through the giant weight loss thing right when I got to college. I actually walked on to A&M's wrestling team and like lost 175 pounds, all this bullshit. Then I blew out my knee, my back, and my neck, and both my ankles, and now I'm fat as fuck. However, that being said, I have found personally that women don't seem to give a shit about it looks so much comparatively to men. Like I'll go out and first, obviously at first glance, women will always seem to be going, "Hey, I want the jacked guy, the shredded abs." All that's first glance, and then they figure out a lot of times these guys have no personality, and then I'll go in there and talk to them, and I do pretty good. I end up getting a date. I'll go out, whatever. So I don't know that I necessarily agree. I think maybe it matters to women a little more with the weight loss and whatnot that it like on for men than it does for men trying to approach women, because I feel like women are a lot more interested personally in personality as opposed to like looks compared to men and like are like more looks focused. Now I don't know if y'all disagree or have any thoughts on that, but that's something I definitely experience in my day-to-day life.
That was
Well-
basically my same question. Like, is there a woman version of a moped? Like, do women have
Yeah.
dudes that are mopeds?
Yeah, it's called putting
I don't
boots
know
on
what
and
that
gaining
means.
3 inches in height.
Well, it's a joke with a lot of dudes. Like, it's fun to ride until your friends catch you.
Oh, no. I don't think women have that. I've never, I've, sorry, I'm trying to process that.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
basically you smash the fat girl on the side, and then once your friends find out, then they make fun of you, and then you're like,
They're
oh,
clowning you.
Yeah.
mm,
I mean, so here's the deal. Like, so kind of, so sort of, right? It's generally speaking like, so, like, I know, like we mentioned before, like women tend to date up, right? They date men that are a bit taller than they are, that make more money than they are, right? But like part of the reason with that, like, is not just because of, it's not necessarily because of what you personally want. Like, this is a frustration I have with like a lot of the red pill conversations. They treat the reason why you date or choose the person because that's intrinsically what you want, and that's intrinsically, and it has nothing, and they never talk about how your parents talk to you about the person that you're dating, right? Or how your friends treat you about how the person that you're dating, right? Like, you don't just make decisions because it's something that you individually want. You also do it because of the way that your friends and your family will treat you if you choose to date this and select this person as your partner.
I think that's awful.
It
I
is
think
awful,
It's
but
true. It's very true.
Yeah.
But it's awful. And I've never had that issue because I don't care what people think of me about who I'm dating.
Let me.
Hold on though.
Go ahead.
There's something that I've been wanting to say
Go
for
ahead.
a while that I haven't had a chance to say. The thing with the overweight situation, I have no problem at all with hearing somebody that I'm dating say that they couldn't date somebody overweight. I understand the process of being able or that everybody has their own type and their own like physical type and their own personality type, and some people just don't want to date somebody that's overweight, just like there are people who don't want to date women who don't have curves. Like there are women who don't want to date men that are under 6 feet, though they wouldn't be able to tell the difference between 6 feet and 5'10" unless they were 5'10" to begin with. I'm 5'10", I can tell the difference, but I don't give a fuck. There are stipulations that we all put on relationships regardless of whether it's attractiveness or it's personality or it's a mixture of both, intelligence, whatever it is. The only problem I have with any of that is when it goes to the point where you are bullying people for that specific reason. Like if the man I was dating said out loud to where that woman could hear, like, oh, I could never date somebody that looked like her, yeah, I'd have a problem, and I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, and why would you say something like that? But him saying that to me in private is not something that I would take into consideration. Having been overweight myself, I just really, to me, it's like, yeah, at first I'll think like, oh shit, I don't want to gain that weight, but I don't want to gain that weight anyways. You know what I
Doesn't feel
mean?
good.
So it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, I understand it. It's not healthy. He works out, like it's just there's a lot to put into play. So I can't judge anybody for being like, that's just not my type.
I
As
grew up
long
with
as
that
it
kind of
doesn't,
misogyny.
Yeah, as long
And
as
like
it
my
doesn't.
pops used to moo at women and say, if you catch me with anything like that, I'm holding it for the police.
Yeah, see,
Like,
that's fucked up.
I mean,
If it comes to the point where you're hurting that person, you're going out of your way to insult that person in front of them, whatever. Behind them still sucks, but it's like, at least if it's in private, that's one thing. You're doing it because that is your type and that is your thing, and you're like, oh, I'd be, like, I couldn't do that.
yeah, I want to say I definitely don't have a problem with people having preferences, and I just want to address something the chat said. I know this came up on one of these other panels recently about the Velcro wallet. Listen, this is the y'all chat. If you have a Velcro wallet, you deserve to die alone and never deserve to talk to anybody ever again. Just go ahead and burn that shit. Like, this is like basics 101. Like, if you have a Velcro wallet, not only do you deserve to die alone, after you to die, people should piss on your grave. Like, that's
I feel like
pathetic.
she's gonna go get her Velcro
Yeah,
wallet.
I mean, well, she's a woman, so she don't have to worry about this. But as a man, if you have a Velcro wallet, you're a scrub. Get rid of that shit. Maybe you keep it and show your homies, but don't show your homies even. Just throw that shit in the trash or put it in your. Get it signed by somebody and put it in a glass box.
I've always found Velcro very
I hate the
unpleasant.
sound. I hate the sound.
It feels weird. Everything gets caught in it. You always have like hair that's stuck in Velcro. Like, there's just,
You know that
it's never
sound
just straight Velcro. Yeah, it's awful.
when Velcro rubs up against like a seatbelt. Oh, it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Or if the wrong side
now I know how to mess with you. I found your
rubs up
kryptonite,
against you.
Gibbs.
Yeah, I hate that sound. I mean, I'm just gonna mute you when you do it. That's what I'm gonna do. We have solutions for that, Leafy. Don't worry. Yeah, it's a problem with Velcro wallet. But yeah, I feel like that's a perfectly fair standard. I also don't have a problem with these standards. I always watch these red pill shows where they're like, oh, what about the fat guy versus the height thing? And I'm like, listen, I feel like once people start bitching about standards, that's just a path that nobody's gonna win on, and it turns into kind of the oppression Olympics. Like,
I feel like women's standards are all over the place. Like some women want a built dude or somebody that's lean, whereas other women want a dad bod dude and
It's the same
are
way
cool
with
with
men.
that.
Some men really want that curvy, really, you have to be 5 foot under and, have 36 or, what is it? 38 fucking 32, 38 like type situation. And you're like, okay. But then there are men that are like, yeah, I don't want that shit.
I
That's fat to
think
me.
dudes is more like the standards of what their friend group is going to say for the most part, but they may have their own particular tastes, and that's going to become an issue either way. But I think a lot of dudes really don't have those same standards and aren't expecting well, a Kardashian is a weird ass thing because that's like surgically done most of the way. But I feel like body standards and social media has created a big issue for a lot of women.
I want to bring up another thing. I feel like we didn't really get to talk about this kind of, but what are y'all's opinions on online dating? I feel like y'all mentioned earlier, it was mentioned social media has killed dating. And I personally don't really think in social media. I think online dating has really hurt specifically men. But I don't know what y'all's. I can only speak as a man compared to a woman. I know with online dating. I've never had any success really. Maybe big surprise, but like I do real well in person, right? But like I feel like you got to spam 100 whatever to get one person to respond, right? As opposed to women probably have lots of options. I feel like it also gives like a false sense of like value with this thing, because what do people really look for on online dating? Like, is it like, I've always thought Tinder was the hookup app, and then I hear people talk about how Tinder, oh, I met my husband on Tinder, and I'm like, oh, okay, right? What are y'all's opinions on online dating?
Respond to that. So I do think it's true that women do tend to get messaged more and do tend to get swiped right on more. But I also think that's because men are pretty indiscriminate. Like I've heard of men that like when they're swiping right or like when they're liking women, they just go like in the hopes of
because you'll get like
back, right?
10% of like the people. It's like law of tens for men. You have to like for every 100 likes, you might get one that actually responds.
Gotta cast a net. Dude's got to get your 100 slaps.
Like I just pulled up, like these are screenshots. I was going to talk about them later. Like these are literal screenshots of like some of the messages that I received. I'm assuming because like this one says my name. I'm just going to say my fake name, Fairy Queen. This is one. The second one says, hi, how's your week going? Not so bad. Next one, tell your cat. I said, psst. Okay, this one, you're so fine. This one, do you want to throw me a corny pickup line or well thought of or joke your way? And then the classic hi. I got like 17 of highs, okay? Nothing else except for hi or hey or how you doing? Hey there, I'm blah. hey, good morning, blank. I would love to fall in love with you, a romantic rose, right? So, and then there are like the essay ones that I receive. Like, oh my goodness. Okay, so this, like, the essay ones I receive are like a little insane. So, like, this one says, after seeing how beautiful you are and reading your bio, I gotta say you're a breath of fresh air. You sound like somebody who's a better part of things. I thought it was cool you did Twitch too and that your goal is to make a career of it. I love Xbox, so I'm already in support of that dream. I work in the London Stock Exchange, so I definitely finance a career like that as long as I get to play stream. Like, it goes on and on. Like, it's like an entire essay, huge, giant paragraphs like this, right? So I would say that a couple of things, like for me, I'm overloaded with so many of these messages, right? And I have no idea which ones to pick from, right? So immediately everybody that just says hi is immediately put in the trash, right? So immediately I'm probably not going to say anybody that like has like a one word answer to me. I'm also probably not going to respond to like enormous huge walls of text like that, right? Because that seems like it's stemming from insecurity. I feel a little concerned maybe about responding to that person, right? It's probably going to be somebody that says something like this. Hey, Fairy Queen, let's jump right straight to the important questions. Beer or wine? Tacos or pizza? Mountains or beach, right? That's a fun thing, right? That's a thing that sounds like fun. It sounds like we're going to have a good time. It sounds like we're going to talk to each other, right? So what I would say, as far as men are concerned, if they want to get better matches, right, they should not just say hi to every
No. You
single
have to start.
person.
So for dudes, you have to start a dialogue. You have to begin a back and forth, and that's what a lot of dudes don't understand. And like a lot of well, people from my generation call it game. Dudes call it Riz now. To be able to come up and start a dialogue with a woman is the first step in the game. That's how you start the party. A lot of dudes can't do that. So that just the fact that they were able to muster up the strength, get their key up, and go hi is a huge step for a lot of dudes. Women don't have to deal with that really. So when it comes down to women having to get to the point of approaching men, women don't tend to do as well. And there's a lot of videos online you'll find of women trying to pick up men. It doesn't really work that well. Now, when you're in a place like a club or something like that, women can come up and say hi, whatever the case may
Because
be.
they don't have to
And
talk.
dudes will be more dudes will be more receptive. But just out in the open, like if you're just walking down the street or you're on the waterfront, whatever, and some guy walks up, he has to have some sort of game and some sort of means to keep a conversation going to get your interest. Women don't tend to know how to do that. It's not in the skill set. I'm not saying it can't be done in the future. Like, women can work on this skill set, and I think they're going to have to in the future because a lot of dudes are too afraid of being Me Too, too afraid of being called the creep, getting put on social media in the future. There's a lot of things dudes are afraid of. So like just the fear of rejection alone has now amplified 1,000 times over to now fear of prosecution and being a social pariah. So we're living in a different world.
Yeah. So,
So
go ahead.
oh, go on. I was just gonna say my opinion on online dating is different. Um, so I tried all the sites before too, and I feel like my success of online dating is the online dating that happened by accident. Um, so I mean, I met my boyfriend on a mobile phone game, and we were just in the same chat. We ended up in the same guilds. We ended up talking online a lot. We were both going through similar things. Um, we didn't know what each other looked like for the first like 4 or 5 months because we weren't interested in that. We were just talking basically. Then we got interested in each other, and then we shared each other's pictures. He came out to visit me, and almost 5 years later, we're still together. I now live with him. I've lived with him for almost 3 years. Um, so but like it wasn't. We were on that game to like hook up with people. We were just kind of playing. We realized that we had similar um we had stuff in
Interests.
common. Yeah, similar interests, stuff in common.
So it took a dialogue. So would
Yeah.
you say like being in a D&D group or like an online D&D group could eventually get a relationship for someone?
See, yes and no. It depends on what you're going in with. Um, if your goal is to go in and have fun and mess around with your friends, there is a way that a relationship can develop from that. But if you're going in thinking, oh, I'm going to get a relationship out of this, there's no way you're actually going to get a relationship out of it.
So
Go ahead.
oh sorry.
Lethy's
Well,
trying
so
to
here's
trigger
the
me. I see he's trying
okay.
to trigger me here.
Here is the problem with dating in person or dating people just because like you have like mutual interest and you in a group, right? This is the problem with I think with the D&D group, right? So on the one hand, right, in my experience, like the relationships, like when we meet, like through mutual interest, because like we go to the same like restaurant or something like that, right? It's usually because those are usually more fulfilling relationships, right? It's more fulfilling to meet somebody like in the same friend group as you, somebody that has the same interest, and that you did not meet because you're dating, right? You met them because they're your friend and you slowly grew closer. Like I do think that that's true. But the problem is that when things go sour and when the relationship does not work out, that makes you being in that friend group extremely awkward now. So now if you want to go back to that D&D group and then play, you're going to have to deal with the fact that your ex-boyfriend is there, right? And this is the same reason why people say don't date at work, right? Because if you date somebody at work and then that person winds up dumping you, right? It becomes extremely weird, right? Whereas if you online date, right, and it doesn't work out, and you can dump that person, and you will never hear or see from them again, and all of the rest of your interests in your life are left completely unscathed, right? So that's the question that I have with people that say that, you know, meeting in person and like dating in person is more fulfilling, because I would agree with that, but there's also a lot more risk involved, right? Because of the fact that you're risking, right, you know, becoming like ruining other relationships that are sort of tangential to that relationship.
I just want to unequivocally say, since this came up, Lethy, since you brought this up, because I knew that you knew how to trigger me here, that it might work sometimes meeting somebody in your D&D group. But let me tell you, if we're giving advice to young men specifically, hey, go join a D&D group to find some women's, that is unequivocally fucking terrible advice.
Yeah, that's terrible advice.
Yeah, like
you are not going to find a woman playing D&D.
that's,
That is look, that you for sure might, okay? But you might find a woman tripping over yourself in the street, like, you know, it's just, but I just don't understand. Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
that.
I've met more women taking shits in the bathroom than I have going to fucking D&D groups or going to Warhammer 40K groups, and I like Warhammer quite a bit. But you're not gonna find the love of your life 90% of the time at one of these groups. And and I'm not saying this isn't like a good way for men to go out there and start making real connections, you know. But I like no, Lethy, you're trolling me, papa.
I am terrible. I'm a terrible person for this whole thing because, like, I've probably ever asked 3 women out in my entire life, so that's never been the thing. Like, I get picked up more than I pick up women. That's just not the way it works for me. So it could happen anywhere. Like, it's happened to me at a skating rink. It's happened to me online. It's happened to me in bars. Like, it doesn't really fucking matter.
My one of my chatters asked Gibbs, what is your pooping strategy? Can you teach him this?
Hey, listen, don't worry about it, all right? Because when we're in the bath, I'm not gonna say what we're doing in the bathroom, but it usually involves a white pad. I'm just kidding. The point is, though, that you're not gonna meet a lot of women's doing the D&D or the whatever. I mean, and this kind of stems back to what I was kind of talking about earlier. Like, I know that like especially Gen Z is really struggling, and I feel like the whole reason I want to have this panel in the first place is kind of because the D&D group thing came up on another panel, and it really drove me up a wall. Is like this idea of like, oh, we're gonna go and we're gonna join these groups for the purpose of meeting women. No, you're not. Because even if you do join these groups and meet these women, when you get rejected, you know, it's going to have a similar aspect to what Fairy Queen was just talking about, where now you have an awkward situation at the group. And that's not even within like a dating. You didn't even get to the dating part, right? Like the bigger issue I find is kind of like men don't know, like at least men now, and I can't speak for women, don't know how to handle rejection, right? This is kind of the meme where you see, oh, a man gets rejected at the bar and then he turns around, he's like, oh, you'd fuck every man in here if they paid you. And I'm like, well, obviously not, because you just tried to buy her a drink and she said no, so she's clearly not fucking you. So like the issue that comes back to me is that like we've made this society kind of a thing where everybody's special. And since everybody's special, nobody's special, right? So like people don't know how to deal with rejection. They don't know how to deal with loss, and like everybody's just got this fragile
If
ego.
everybody's incredible, nobody is.
Right? Yeah, and it sounds stupid when I say that, but like it's a real
Syndrome.
yeah, it's
wisdom.
it's a real thing. Yeah, syndrome. He knew, bro. He knew. But it's a real thing. Like I like if people don't know how to lose, and what is rejection? Rejection's losing. You didn't get the girl you wanted. it, right? So like, okay, cool, but like if people don't know how to handle rejection, you're not gonna learn that from trying to roll a d20 for some panocha at fucking D&D. That's just not how that's gonna work. And like I think that people on these panels, when they do these panels and they give that kind of advice, they have an unrealistic expectation. And I don't know if it's because like Twitch is giving a voice to people that shouldn't have a voice or wouldn't have a voice, and they go out and they're able to give like these advice to their platform to these people, like, or if it's because they already have relationships and they're just trying to guess. Like, but it feels to me like a lot of these people don't ever touch grass, for lack of a better expression, and then they're out here giving these terrible ideas and terrible pieces of advice, and I don't know, it drives me up a wall. And Lethe knew that when he
So
said the D&D thing.
isn't the issue really that every D&D group is literally like 5 dudes and maybe 1 chick, and all these 5 dudes are trying to get with the 1 chick? Now, if it were a more mixed group, maybe, like a mixer in general, it might work out a little bit better. But just aspiring to be in a space to get women where there tend to not be women is already the bad advice portion of it.
Yeah, I don't know, that one gets me quite a bit. I have a real issue with that one. I just like, so, but back to the online dating thing. Like I think you brought up a good point. You met them, had a relationship already established, and I think that's a better way to like do things in general. Is like if you have a relationship already established, that's like whatever, and then you move to the dating. That's a much more firm. I mean, what's the expression? You want to marry your best friend? Like I think that's a real thing. Now I think there is some kind of issues when it comes to like dating friends that are a whole different set of issues than what we've been talking about. But I don't know. I think you
You
kind of
gonna
hit the
talk
nail on
about
the
the
head.
friend zone?
Sure.
I
Do we
want a
want to do that?
dude like you are the greatest, most best friend I have. I want to find a dude just like you. But I'm
I don't understand saying that to a person. I feel like if you say that to a person, it's not a woman thing. That's just like a piece of shit thing. Like that because I don't, because I've heard men say similar things, and that's just, it's so but it's very much so in the field of women doing that. Like there's more women doing that than men, but like it's it's you're an asshole. You're a fucking asshole if you say that kind of shit to people, because you know what you're doing. And
Right.
if you don't, you should really be more aware of yourself.
well, dudes don't tend to have the same thing going that women have, where there's a bunch of dudes that are being friends, but really they want to get with you. So these dudes are actually like fire extinguishers. And a woman can be like, well, in case of emergency, break glass, and this dude is there.
Let me touch on
That
that
Men
is
before
don't
you
tend
get
to have
there.
awful.
that
And
dynamic.
that's literally, I've seen women that I've been friends with actually do that, where they always have a reserve just in case like their main one breaks. And it's like, I don't even want to be friends with you.
So
Like that's
let me touch on that before I give it to Fairy Queen. I know she wants to say. So I think there's two things. First, there's a problem, right? Say you go into a woman with the objective to date her, right, or you're interested in her, and then she friend zones you. I've heard a lot of women complain, oh, well, he never was my friend in the first place. I'm like, well, that's not a real fair assessment. If this dude made clear initially that his reason for trying to be interested in you was to date you. Now I've also seen this, and this has happened to me recently.
Most dudes won't do that.
Some do, but some do. But this is another thing that's happened to me recently. This is the girl, for example, that I didn't want to date, and I hooked up with one of my friends, right? And I basically said I was fulfilling her emotional needs as a boyfriend, even though I wasn't her man's, and I didn't want to be her man's, but I was fulfilling the emotional needs while she was single. She's going to get the sex from other people, and that's fine, cool, because I didn't want to date her. But then what'll happen sometimes is once they get a significant other, now they're getting their emotional needs met from a man, and they're getting their sex from that person. So then they'll pull away from this friendship, and they're like, oh, I don't understand what the issue is. And it's like, well, listen, I didn't ever have the sexual interest or the desire to date you, but I did think we had a genuine friendship, and it's a little bit confusing and hurtful whenever you get in this kind of situation, and all of a sudden they pull back. I don't know what's the better term, attention, or like, this relationship that you had, because now they pulled back. Now I think that is an example of friend zoning where that's a problem, right? As opposed to, you made it clear first, and then they, whatever, and it didn't work out. I think that's a different issue. But I don't know. There's my little spiel on that. Fairy Queen.
Yeah, I was gonna give the spiel on the fuck zone, right, which is the other side with that women have to deal with, right? So I would agree, men have to deal with the friend zone, right? That you really, really want to be with this woman, like you want to date this woman, right? But she says, "Oh, but you're just a really nice friend," right? And like she holds you, and as Ginger mentioned, right? She basically like you're used as like a fire extinguisher, right? You're just there for like when bad things happen. But the other thing that can happen for women often, where women will agree to have sex with a man, right? And he will say, look, I'm not really interested in you. This is just a hookup, right? But the woman really thinks, that we're going to date, right? That you're going to be my boyfriend, right? And maybe if I'm just a little bit sexier, maybe if I just do something else, right? When in reality, he has like 4 or 5 other women that he's seeing, right? And when they become upset, right, at the idea of them being their boyfriend, right? They just say, "Look, I'm sorry. This is just the reality. This is just the way it was at the beginning," right? So I think that like women do deal with this in a different way. The difference is that with men specifically, they wind up in the friend zone, right? They wind up, wanting to be with this woman, right? And then she says, "Oh, you're just my friend," right? Whereas men, right? Women want to be with this man, right? And the man will say, "Oh, but we're just fuck buddies," right? I'm sorry, I don't understand why you think that we would be anything more than fuck buddies since we told you this at the very beginning, right? So that's the issue I think that a lot of women have to deal with. And I also, as far as emotional extinguisher goes, like this can happen in fuck buddy situations too, right? Where like a man will use a woman basically like as an emotional, like valve, right? Or he will use her sexually, right? And like in order to feel better about a situation, right? And then he'll ghost and then he'll leave directly afterwards, right? And will shrug his shoulders and say, "Well, that's just be how it be," right? So I don't know. I think that like between these two different stuff, right? Well, I would agree, right, that it really, really sucks when you want to date somebody and they friend zone you. They just say that we're friends, right? It hurts a lot. I think that like being fucked and then quickly dispatched of, right? Or being told that you're an idiot for imagining that there could be anything more going on, right? That not only is that bad just because of what it does to you emotionally, forget about that, right? It's bad because of the way that the rest of society views you, right? So the woman that is fucked and used and then discarded is viewed, typically speaking, as the bigger loser than the guy who is the friend, right? Who is desperately wants to date the pretty girl next door.
So
I mean, I
I'm
think that
wondering
they're
what
both
you think.
considered big losers.
What's the percentage of dudes that have like a stable of 3 or more women for that situation?
I mean,
Um,
Just
honestly,
wondering.
Go ahead.
I mean, I have no numbers on this. I'm just telling you, like, I've seen this happen, like in real life. I know that this is the case, and it's probably true that most men probably can't do this. What I'm saying is, this is probably true for a smaller portion of men, but it's probably the case that there are a lot of women who are kept on the hook in that way.
Okay, so my thing is that I feel like when somebody makes themselves perfectly clear, like I'm not interested in you in that way, and somebody continues to um chase, I guess you could say, I have really no well, I have nothing to negative to say about the person who told them up front, "Hey, this I don't feel that way about you." Unless that person continues to flirt with that person and act like they're interested in them, even though they've said
Mhm.
that they have no interest in them like that. Um, I feel like saying, "Hey," at the beginning, saying, "I'm not interested in you," and the girl still being like, "Oh, well, if I do this and this, that he'll be
Mhm.
interested." That's totally on the girl.
Mhm.
And it's totally on the guy for doing that too as well. Like in any situation where somebody's told you flat out, "Hey, I'm not interested," um,
Mhm.
if they end up being interested later on, I really feel like that's a flaw on them.
I feel you. Well, I was just talking more so about all the girls that want to fuck the quarterback and then expecting the quarterback to choose them
Well, that's an interesting
versus they're
point.
Well,
already playing the field.
So that's an interesting
yeah.
point. What is the statistic? I feel like I've read this a few times. I mean, I'm probably gonna get the numbers wrong, but it's like 20% of men are having sex with 80% of women, and then it's like
That's
40%
pretty
of men
much what
go.
I was getting at.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So like, I feel like that's true to some extent, and like some people are sharing this, and then you get like to these lower things, and that's why I think we have these incels, and I think that's why the red pill exists, and a lot of these things, and I think there is some truth to that. But my opinion on this is, hey, listen, if you don't want to be part of that 80%. It's time to nut up and maybe go outside and stop crying and maybe go do something about it because sitting here expecting sexual communism to happen is not gonna do good for you, and nobody wants that guy. Like that's kind of why I get mad when I see these people talking about the D&D groups and these other things, because it's not real
Mhm.
advice. it's bad advice. And like the best advice I can do is go do stuff, like, right, go outside, talk to people, and like, so whenever we talk about these unreal expectations,
Touch grass, people.
yeah, like these unreal expectations. Yeah, I think it's a little bit unreal for people to expect like somebody that is in this top as 20% of men to want to settle down when they're getting all their needs met by multiple people. I just that's the crazy to me. And I'll give you another example. And I think that I can't speak for women in this part, but I know that in my experience, I'll go through a stretch where it's like, oh, I don't have any girls, right? But then it's like, oh, I'll get like one or two girls, and all of a sudden they see, oh, this guy's getting taken off the market, and all of a sudden there's a few of them that appear. I think it's a competition. I think that dating is a competitive world, and I feel like the idea that it's not is a very harmful concept. And like people need to understand that it is a competition to an extent, right? Like literally, we're animals. We compete for mates.
Yeah. There's also a negative I want to add to dating online is that people are a lot more free when they're texting or on the phone with each other than they are in person. So like a lot of the times, especially with like sexual aspects of the relationship, things will be talked up, like talked up, all right? And then you meet the person and there's just like dead silence on that end because you're both so
Yeah.
uncomfortable to have to initiate what you were so freely able to discuss over
Yeah.
text or over phone, you know? So there's that really awkward, like, you know, try to keep it realistic
Mhm.
when you're discussing how sex is going to be, how you're going to be with each other. You know,
Mhm.
don't expect you to be all over each other all at once. It's awkward first meeting each other in public, you know? It's weird.
I will
That's
say,
more the catfishing, but yeah, I feel you.
No, I don't think it is catfishing because I don't think that these people are necessarily being who they're not. They don't realize that even though this is something that they really
Yeah.
like think about and they really like, that when it
Mhm.
comes down to it, actually, like that's just
Yeah.
not who they are,
Mhm.
you know, and they find
So,
out for themselves
Mhm.
real
Yeah,
quick
like
that
yeah,
that's
oh,
not
okay.
yeah.
I'm
They'll
gonna
be
be real.
messaging me like,
I used to troll OK Cupid. This is a thing, and I had a me persona and I had an asshole persona, and I'd be talking to the same girls with both personas, and literally the me persona would get clowned to the bad boy persona.
yeah, I think that's kind of what Modi was talking about earlier. Is like, you'll sit here and you'll have these girls, like, I mean, I've seen this. Like, I like where there's a parasocial thing, and you'll be sitting next to the girl, and like, she's like, "Hey, look at this dude. He's gonna take me out to go get dinner tomorrow, and I'm just gonna dip on him." Like, I see that all the time. Like, I mean, that's a real thing. I act like it's not is
But you
whatever.
don't want that broad, right?
I mean, no,
Like at the
I
end
don't.
of the day, aren't you happy you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not gonna date that broad. I'm gonna fuck him, but I'm not gonna date him.
I mean, I used to have friends, you know, be like, why aren't you going on a date with that guy? It's, you know, it's a free meal. It's blah blah blah. So just some of the worst toxic shit. Like, I don't want to just because it's fucking awkward to eat in front of somebody that I don't have any interest in having a discussion with or I'm not attractive to. I don't understand what the fun is in sitting across from somebody that I'd rather not be with.
I also think
So
that
for real, I would hope that a woman that did that would pay for their own meal and dip and be like,
No, no,
okay,
no,
it's
no,
been
no, no, no,
cool.
no. That's
And
not how they do that.
yeah, I mean, I also I
Actually,
think men need to
oh, I'm
understand the
sorry.
difference between like getting a date and then like having a date, right? Like, so I have female friends that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to this event and I'm gonna take you as a date, but it's not a date, right? And then there's the girls that you're actually dating, and like you can go and flirt with this person that's a date and like flirt and have fun, and then like there's no expectation, as opposed, and then you have like the ones that you're like, oh, I'm actually interested in, right?
Mhm.
And like I feel like a lot of men get confused about which one's which sometimes. Like they're like, oh, there's this understanding, and then there's not, and like that's a major issue as well, I think, as opposed to like what we're just talking about now, which is like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
going on a date for food. Like you're just getting played. Congratulations.
Mhm. So I have something I want to interject because Ginger, there's something you said that like I think it doesn't just apply to sex though, right? It applies to I find that weirdly that like when I've dated people online, when I've talked online, it's really a lot easier to say stuff and to talk about like, your past history, like where you've been, right? To share a lot of intimate things, like just even outside sexually, right? Just like how you feel with that person, right? Online. And then you meet the person and it's like, oh shit, I just told you my whole life story and you know everything about me, and we have nothing to discuss.
Yeah.
And we have this awkward cold cup of coffee in front of us, right? Like I know exactly what you're talking about because I have so been there. But I don't know, like when you meet people in person, though, right? Like, I guess, I don't know, like, part of me really likes the fact that you can be so open and so free with people in a way that you really can't, like, when you're in person, right? Because it is awkward, right? Like, how are you going to get to all those conversations, like, when you meet somebody in person in your real life, right? So I don't know, like, but I don't know, like, that's something that I thought about too.
I've never had that issue. I'm always me. Like I am the
Well, you're not
person
always
you
you. Let's be clear. You did just admit to
unless
having an
no
asshole persona on OK Cupid,
no,
okay?
that was hilarious. That was just for weeding out the fucked up stuff. But like just in general, whenever you meet me, and I said I had a me persona, and then I had that fucked up one. So pretty much if you meet me online versus meeting me in person, you're meeting the same person.
Well,
Yeah.
I think like that. Oh,
Go ahead.
well, I think that's fair, but let's be honest. Like when you're meeting somebody face to face, right? You're not going to say, "Well, I'm a child of divorce, right? My
Yeah, I
sister
will.
died." You would say all that stuff. I don't think most people would. I think
I'm not
most
starting the
people, like,
party that way, but I'm gonna let it organically get to that point. Let shit flow organically.
I mean, I want to touch on kind of what Ginger was saying. I think a part of what she was talking about, I mean, she can correct me if I was wrong, but I was saying, like, I feel like she was saying, talking about the sex stuff specifically. I know a lot of people that when you go online, they're over here saying some real nasty shit. Like, we're going to do XYZ and we're going to get to this and it's going to, wild shit, right? And then, like, you meet them in person and you're just like, well, hey, and you like, it's like they struggle to even break the touch barrier. Like, oh, let me just put my hand in your, and you're like, bro, weren't you the same girl that was sitting here saying we was gonna get nasty? And then like, you can't even put your hand on my wrist. Like, oh God, like what's going on here? And I think that's a real issue because people have these unrealistic expectations, and people just don't want to admit that. They're just like, oh, I think was that what you kind of were talking about, Ginger? Because
Yeah,
that's how
no,
I read that.
it's so funny to me because like I said, people are so more open, with themselves when they're online because it's so much freer, and you're not in the moment realizing how ridiculous it playing out actually is, and like getting over that is harder than when it actually happens in the moment, and like you're just kind of into it, but like there's plenty of people who will get turned on by stuff in porn, but then they try that certain stuff like in the bedroom and they're like, yeah, I don't really like it that much. Like there's a lot of women who I'll say like the idea of choking, but then once it comes down to like being choked, they don't like it so much.
I mean, I'll even wrap myself. I think there's an opposite to that's true. There's the other extreme, which is someone will show up and then someone will be about that life. Like, for example, I got like a whole 50 Shades group. Like, someone shows up and I've been sitting here talking nasty and they show up, they're like, oh shit, this guy was about this. Like, they're like, oh, maybe I wasn't really about this. Like, I think that's also a problem, but I feel like that's less than the
Yeah.
oh God, that I can't even break the touch barrier here.
Yeah, I feel like I've experienced that more with a lot of girls where they're trying to impress you with some sort of sexual experience, whereas they don't have that level of experience, but they think you want that level of experience, and they're not being true to themselves. And that's a bad thing. And also, like when it comes down to just dumping everything on someone when you first meet them, that could be a vulnerable. That's like saying, okay, here are my 5 worst fears. This is where my address is. Like, you don't necessarily want to let someone in that quickly because it could be a dangerous thing. But then there are some people you may feel a connection with, or you may have chemistry with, and that's a thing. Like, you'll know when there's chemistry in a lot of instances, and you have to be able to tell the difference. And that's what becoming an discerning adult is, which is why we shouldn't be fucking around with people that are like 18 years old when you're in your mid 20s, because you don't have an understanding of self at that point yet. So you want to you want to deal with people who have a better understanding of self. And it can happen earlier in life. Some people have a better understanding of self earlier in life. This can happen. It's just not very ordinary.
Well, yeah. Well, I think this has been a very productive panel. I mean, does
Yeah.
anybody have anything else anybody want to add? I think I'm gonna rate out to.
I was still laughing at Artie because Artie was like talking about all the shit I learned was in porn. I'm like, bruh, your skill
Modi.
list is fucked.
I will give Modi credit though. I'm not gonna say.
I'm calling him Artie from now on.
That's fine. I will give Modi credit. The reason I wanted to have Modi on in the first place is because, like, despite like the jokes, I've seen this man like in person, just like run through a different girl every night. Like, right. So like he's kind of in that Gen Z, but he's like definitely like out there dating, right? So like he can actually give decent advice, like when if he wanted to, as opposed to his craziness, as opposed to like I don't know. Like I said, watching when I was on that panel with Fabian the other day, I'm gonna call him out because it was so stupid. Oh yeah, just join a D&D group and you're gonna find all the
Fabian's a
ladies.
fucking retard,
Yeah,
anyways.
I had an aneurysm. But yeah, if y'all want to give
No.
outros, I think I'm gonna raid to you, Ginge here, if you're still on. Unless
Oh
you're
yeah,
getting
thank you.
out.
Okay, so there was something that I was gonna say to respond to that. What was it that you just said?
The D&D group with Fabian.
Oh no, it was
Yeah.
before that.
Oh, the
Let's play some Baldur's Gate.
Modi running through people.
Oh, see, but that's the problem though, is you saying he does have advice on dating or whatever. That's him having sex with a woman every night is not dating. That's
Sure.
I don't believe him. I do not believe
that's
him.
not dating.
I've seen it though. I mean, it's.
I know. I'm sure that he does. I actually sure that he does. I've seen men just like
I
him.
bet he hooks
He's a
up with a
good.
chick
He's
and
a
ends up
good-looking
crying
young
before he
dude.
even gets there.
He's a good-looking young dude, and I'm sure he uses that to his advantage. I'm sure a lot of the non-anecdotes that he brought up were actually anecdotes. You know, the Starbucks barista kind of going for the older woman who can pay for his. You know, it sounded kind of, personal. But yeah, that wasn't dating.
Sure, that's fair. Anybody want to give outros here before I raid out here? Where can you find y'all people?
Hi, my name is Fairy Queen, and you can find me at Fairy Queen's Cottage. Check me out. Thank you for having me on, Admiral Gibbs. It was really fun.
Good. Lethe?
Oh, I thought Ginger was going to go before me. Lethe Water Kai. You can find me in my Twitch. I'm working on my YouTube little by little. There's 3 videos there, but it'll get better. I'm on pretty much every platform. I'll eventually move out to Kick. I'm probably not allowed in Fairy Queen's Cottage, but all the same, it's been a blast hanging out. Nice meeting you, Fairy Queen.
Nice meeting you
I'm not
too.
going to let all the bad press color my view of you at this point.
Okay.
Oh Jesus!
What, bad press. We don't got
I'm
to go
just
into
being
that.
real. I'm gonna be real.
I didn't even know there was bad press.
Oh, it was
Well,
that
now
he
you know.
started a Discord server that's only for women and women only. So, I don't feel like I'm welcome in that space because I'm definitely not a woman.
Okay.
All right.
I'm Ginger Ramoth. You can find me at Ginger Ramoth on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. I do panels, cosplay, and video gaming, and talk to my chat.
All right. And y'all are welcome to use this room as long as you want. I got to make some phone calls, do some work, but I'm raiding out. It's been fun. Thank y'all so much.
I'm
Later.
gonna dip myself. I'm gonna head
Thank
to
you.
my Discord.
Yeah, I'm gonna head
nice
out
hanging
too.
out with
It was
y'all.
really nice meeting you.